Good evening and welcome to Athens City Council. We have a busy agenda this evening. We are starting off with a public hearing, and then we will have one committee meeting, the Transportation Committee, and then we will move into our regular session. So to start, it is Monday, November 17th, 2025 at 7 p.m., and we are opening a public hearing. This public hearing is to hear from citizens regarding the recommendation from the Athens City Planning Commission to rezone portions of North Lancaster Street, 2nd Street, Columbia Avenue, and Columbus Road from zones R1 and B2D to zones R2, B1, and B2. Is there anyone here tonight who would like to speak to this recommendation to rezone those mentioned roads and the areas?
I live at 124 Morris Avenue, City.
Mr. Delich, you mind signing the, if it's there?
Sign in too? Okay.
Yes, thank you very much.
I'd like to speak in support of this. I think it's a needed change to encourage business development in the area, make it a better place for people to be able to walk to a store or shop. And instead of having to drive everywhere, the West Side neighborhood could use more businesses of that type, neighborhood-style businesses, and I think this zoning change is going to help make that happen, and it's a good move in the right direction for the city.
Thank you, Mr. Delich. We appreciate those comments. Anyone else tonight who would like to speak to the rezoning? Okay, seeing none, we will close the public hearing and we will move on to the Transportation Committee. I am going to ask all members of council to stay at the dais because we only have one committee meeting and then we'll go into our regular meeting. But the Transportation Committee is chaired by Member Spielness, joined by Member McCary, Member Clodfelter, and Member Reisner.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we have a few items on the agenda. One of them will be really easy to take care of, but the first one is the parking garage. You may have noticed that we've been working on the parking garage for like forever, so there are some changes that are being requested and quickly, and that is ordinance number 03523 is the ordinance that appropriated phase 3 for the parking garage improvements project 362. This includes a transition from the meters to a gate system, bike parking, thank you, and ADA access improvements, electrical for EV chargers, and a rooftop solar. So this will make it even better than we had planned. The rooftop solar was removed from the scope due to cost, but the design included it, and we intend to add it in the future. So, along the way, we used funds from this project to add cameras and microphones and to the roof to intercept people intent on self-harm. You know that we've had some tragedies there. We want to do everything we can to avoid that in the future. So that's another thing. But the majority of cost in the project is to install the second exit lane and the gate pay system. We are nearing completion but have incurred some additional cost with modifications to achieve ADA access and also additional equipment with the pay system. A major goal of a gate system is to make it as easy as possible to pay for many options, which makes the garage more efficient and profitable. As of now, there will be kiosks where people can pay when they walk back in the garage, ability to pay at exit, a reader that allows people to have a key card, where the system connects a particular plate to an account and automatically opens the gate when that car comes through. For example, when people go on jury duty.
Sorry, proceed.
I'll stop. It's okay. Sorry.
You've had your 3 minutes.
I had my almost 3 minutes. Okay, moving right along. So if someone is in jury duty, they get, free pass for parking. That would seem to be reasonable given the circumstances. So by having this system, then they can read the the court can give those numbers, and then they don't have to pay anything. Seems easy. And there's plenty of other circumstances where that could come in handy. Additionally, we would like to pay for 5 years of subscription to the cloud backhaul software service for billing up front, as it will get only more expensive over time. With these charges, we are requesting an additional $75,000. There is money available in the unappropriated balance of the 730 fund to cover this. Also, the city is requesting a suspension to approve this quickly because they want to get it done over winter break. I hope that happens, if we can make this work. That's when everybody comes back, and it'll be online. So we're hoping that's possible. I had a conversation with Andy Stone about this, and this is what he sent me in writing, so I would be able to say it correctly and not make up stuff. So anyway, that's the system, and we'll talk about it more later. All right, and somehow my system just stopped, so I have to bring it back up again. I love technology when it works. All right, so the next one is HAPCAP. So we have been the city has been
Chair Spelness, can you check on the city administration and see if anybody from the audience has anything on your first item?
Oh, okay, since we're
Thank you.
going through, okay, sorry. All right, do you want to talk more about that?
Sure. As you had indicated, I mean, sure, someone who's on jury duty, that's one thing it could be used for. It can also be used for those serving on the city's numerous boards and commissions, to where it is set up to where on whatever day of the week they are meeting and within certain time frames, that they will be able to have gate, they'll be able to come in, they'll have gate exit, because they are serving as a volunteer on different boards and commissions. The plan is to get this done before the end of the year, over the holiday break for Ohio University. And as you'd indicated, we're asking for an additional $75,000 to get this project done. One of the challenges that has slowed it down slightly is the fact that there had to be some redesign to make the ADA accessibility into where you see the slope angles of the sidewalk versus what they have, the work that's gone on already. You can see it's substantially higher than grade at the sidewalk, so they're fixing that as well.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions, concerns? Seeing none, committee? Yes.
Thank you, Member Spielness. You briefly mentioned that this project will help address some of the tragedies we've seen with some of the deaths from the rooftop of the parking garage. I was just wondering if we can share any more information about what the project will do to help with that. Don't know if the mayor might have any comment.
We have already expanded several features up on the 6th floor and the 5th floor of the parking garage, which has been successful in identifying and observing behaviors up there, and we have actually been able to effectively help a number of people. So there won't be a whole lot of change more to that. Maybe added another couple features up there to where we'll be able to see more activity. It also has a two-way intercom to where we can speak to individuals up on the 4th or the 5th and 6th floors, which that too has been helpful. And meanwhile, that's all being sent straight into dispatch and immediately sending individuals up to the 4th or the 5th or 6th floor. It's working, and we want to continue to have it be helpful to people who are clearly in need of help.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Are there any more plans to get solar panels up there in the future?
Well, it does, I did mention that is the plan. How soon it will be is a question.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes.
At one point, there was discussed the ability for businesses to buy punch cards to sort of validate parking and pay for the parking on behalf of people. Is that still in the works?
With the plate reader, we'll be able to do that differently, as opposed to just getting people cards and whatnot, it can go through utility billings. An individual can say, or whomever, that we would like to purchase parking spaces or times for people to park up there, and that can all be worked out through the plate reader in there. Yeah. We're doing it differently, trying to streamline as many things as possible.
Sounds good. I think the challenge might be if the commission meets at a different time than is normally expected, that kind of coordination might be a little complicated. So somebody doing that would need some time to make that happen. Okay, unless there's anything else, we'll move on to the next item. Do I get a go-ahead?
You go.
Just want to make sure. Okay, so next one is HAPCAP, and traditionally for some years now, the city has been the contract administrator for the GO Bus on behalf of HAPCAP. But now they are going to do that through HAPCAP, so the city does not have to be involved. So we're going to table that when we get to it in first reading, and it won't be our responsibility anymore. Any comments, questions about that? Anyone? Okay. Members?
Mayor, anything?
If you haven't noticed, Go Bus also has plans to expand the Go Bus service to Toledo and Findlay and Upper Sandusky, which has a population of 7,000 people. But that's great. It's great to see Go Bus expanding as much as they've expanded, and just note that Go Bus started right here.
Yes, it's a good thing. We like public transportation. Will that free up some time for somebody on the staff because of this change at all?
Oh, minuscule. There's not a whole lot of time that staff has to allocate to the process that existed in the past. With this change, it'll free up a little bit of time.
Not much. Okay, just curious. All right, I will then move on to, unless anybody else has any comments? Okay, we're going to move on to the Uptown Improvements Project. As I understand this, what's going to happen is that this has been bid 4 times, I understand, and it did not bear fruit, I think could be a legitimate phrase here. And so the administration would like to repeal that. And then the next item addresses it in a different way. So, you want to add to that, Mayor Patterson? Anybody? Okay. Anybody out there? See, some of these are easy and some of them are hard. So just remember those of you who are going to be on council next year, remember that. Anyway, anybody else? Okay. So the next one is the Athens Streetscape Beautification Project 383, and it amends 03525. So this is this ordinance, 3525 is the ordinance authorizing and appropriating the $6.5 million of the city's Round 2 Appalachian Community Grant Program funds in the 905 Fund Project 383. As a reminder, the scope of this project is to bury all the overhead streetscape, replacing the sidewalks and ADA ramps. So it'll look a lot nicer uptown without all those wires all over the place. Okay, the city is requesting this ordinance be amended to add $1.2 million from the Street Rehab 572 Fund, resulting in a total appropriations and authorization of $7.7 million. They bid this project 3 times and finally got good bids and can move forward with these additional funds. This $1.2 million in local 572 funds are being reallocated from the Uptown Improvements, which I just mentioned, Project 329, that was bid 4 times with no bidders, as I mentioned, where ODOT ultimately pulled the external small cities funds as we ran out of time. There's some elements that overlap these 2 projects. Let's see. And on State Street, so we will have some of the work still done. To ensure clarity, the city's asking that in injunction with this amendment, 3525, that you can rescind 09123 with the cancellation of project 329. Do you want to add to that, Aaron?
No, other than, again, this was a project that we had put out to bid several times and didn't get any bidders. The same holds true with the one that you just talked about, which was the Uptown Improvement projects. It's certainly frustrating that we didn't get any bids come in at all. That's a sign of the times when you look at the amount of work that you see in the Columbus area with large concrete projects, a lot of flat work. But this allows us to move forward with the Appalachian Communities Grant Program, which we did receive the funding, as you had indicated. So this
Yeah.
is just taking what was the 572 street fund monies and putting it into this instead, which those are proprietary funds. Those aren't general fund dollars.
So sometimes it gets complicated, and you don't always get exactly what you want, so you have to switch gears. Okay, any comments out there, concerns, questions? Yes. Remember to sign in.
Hello, Lorraine McCosker, 59 Elmwood. I'm just wondering, I haven't read about this. I mean, I've read about it, but I haven't looked at it. I'm wondering how the city plans to adapt trees into that and vegetation. The streetscaping.
On this particular project, you know, one of the things, when you look at the uptown area, aside from the tree pits that run along Court Street, there's a fair amount of underground infrastructure, water, sewer, storm, that makes it challenging to put tree pits along this particular project. First and foremost, we know we have a major ADA challenge on the streets that are identified here. So that's our first goal, is to make sure we can make them accessible to all. Haven't looked in, I have not seen the designs as to whether there is anything when it comes to tree pits along this particular portion of the project. But I can look to see what is in the detailed designs.
Yeah, we just had an extensive program, and Ann Bonner talked about trees and having large areas so that they don't become tree coffins. And there was a tree identified on Court that is dead, that needs to be removed. And of course, we know the value of that in a time of climate change and comfort for everyone to have shade and all the benefits of that.
Yep.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. The committee? Anybody else? Okay. All right. Well, that covers all those items under the Transportation Committee, and you'll hear more of this later. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Spelness. We will now start our regular session. I'd like to start that by acknowledging that here in Athens County, we live and work on land initially settled and developed by earlier people, particularly the Shawnee and the Osage, and those identified through cultures commonly known as the Adena, Hopewell, and Fort Ancient. This acknowledgement reminds us of the importance of honoring history, people, and the planet as we work to improve our city's legacy. Our first order of business is to establish quorum. 6 of 7 council members are present this evening, and we have quorum. Next item of business is the disposition of minutes for the regular session of council held on November 3rd, 2025. May I have a motion for the approval of these minutes?
So moved.
Any discussion? We have a motion and a second for approval. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The minutes have been approved. We now have communications. Do any council members have communications they'd like to share? Member McCary.
Thank you, President Crowell. I'd like to share that recently the Commission on Disabilities hosted the annual Athena Awards ceremony and presented the award this year to Adrienne Nagy, a physical therapist in the area who works with Athens County Early Intervention Program, and she's been recognized for her decades of work. One of the keepsakes passed out during that event is being passed out here for those in our live audience, and those are bookmarks commemorating some of the cultural significance of the occasion and the themes of leadership that were explored at the event. So thank you for those helping to get those passed out, and thank you to Adrienne Nagy for her service.
Thank you, Member McCary. It was a great event. Well done. Appreciated everything that went on. Any other communications from other council members? Yes, Member Reisner.
Yes, before I came here, I received a communication through the Nixtal system alerting that there is severe weather coming, ice storm of some sort. I wonder if the administration had any more details on that.
Just the same as you, Councilman Reisner. I saw that this afternoon as well. And I encourage everybody to download Nixle. It's easy to do. I don't know if Scott and Ryan can throw up the little thing that we have that identifies the Nixle system, but you can use it to get alerts of all sorts, everything from amber alerts to inclement weather. But to your point on the weather, be careful tomorrow morning is the best I can say, given this system, whatever it is that's coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you both. I have
There it
one.
is.
Okay, yes, the Nixle.
Simply sign up by texting 45701 to 888777. It's free.
I do have one communication for council. We have received a notice from the Department of Commerce, Division of Liquor Control, regarding the renewal of retail liquor permits in the city of Athens. This is all of them, not a particular one. All Class C and D retail permits that sell alcoholic beverages in our political subdivision will expire on February 1st, 2026. Every retail permit holder must timely file an online renewal application with the division to maintain their permit privileges and ability to sell alcoholic beverages. Our revised code provides the legislative authority, city council here, with the right to object to the renewal of a retail permit and to request a hearing. This is our opportunity to object to the renewal of a liquor license permit premise. Do I hear any need for any objections to be sent to the Department of Commerce?
I do have information.
Please, thank you, Law Director.
So I discussed this with the fire chief today because in the past we talked about perhaps filing objections for liquor license renewal for any of the liquor establishments who are violating the fire code, overcrowding. And the fire chief said at this time he doesn't wish to file any objections to issuing those permits. He just wants to know for the permit establishments to know that it's a possibility for us if they get multiple citations for overcrowding that we could go that route. But he has no reason to. So it's a complicated process. You actually have to have grounds, and I have to file an affidavit. And anyway, right now the fire chief said no reason to.
Well, thank you, Council. Appreciate your speaking to the fire chief on this issue. Any other on this notice? Okay, thank you. We're moving on now to reports and communications from other elected officials. Law Director Eliason?
No.
Auditor Hecht? Treasurer Thomas? Mayor Patterson?
I just have a couple things tonight, President Crowell. Number one, it's great to see that our federal legislators decided to finally get to work and come together with an agreement to pass a continuing resolution. However, the reason I'm bringing it up in front of everyone who's here today, that CR only goes through the end of January, and then we're back to square one again. We saw what the SNAP effects were on our own local citizens in the community in Southeast Ohio, communities. My other fear is what's going to happen with affordable health care. And so for those of you who are interested, now is the time to reach out to our congressional leadership and voice your concerns if you have any. I've certainly been doing my fair share through the National League of Cities in being vocal when it comes to the longest governmental shutdown. And some of you may think, well, does that really affect Athens? It certainly does. When you look at the Wayne National Forest around us and talking with members who work for USDA Forest Service, they may have been protected for 30 days. Beyond those 30 days, they were not. So they didn't receive a paycheck either yet, trying to make mortgage, make rent, get food on their tables and whatnot. So it's now's your time to sit and think ahead. Don't wait until the 30th of January. Start thinking about things now. Another thing that came to me through the Ohio Municipal League was yet another attempt to strip away home rule. We are a home rule state, which means that municipalities have the ability to self-govern. As long as we stay within what the Ohio Revised Code says, we can make things stronger. We can't make things less than with the Ohio Revised Code. This particular substitute House bill would reduce local flexibility in managing delinquent utility accounts to where if someone moves out and has an outstanding bill, what we have been able to do in the past is either reach out to the landlord or to the rental units themselves. This preempts that to where we don't have that ability to receive funding owed to the city of Athens when it comes to utilities. We provide water, we provide sewer, we have a storm system. We also have obviously the refuse and recycling program. It also undermines the stability of municipal enterprise funds because those utility bills are enterprise funds. They're dedicated to our wastewater treatment plant, our water treatment plant, as well as our storm water system and its maintenance. And it forces customers to absorb the financial risk for unpaid bills. So I certainly am going to be writing a letter to our state representatives to stop eroding home rule in the state of Ohio. The last thing is a little bit more positive note. Actually, it's a lot more positive. And that is that at this point in time, the Stimson Avenue Bridge project will be two-way again by Thanksgiving. At this point in time, the Stimson Avenue Bridge will be open to two-way traffic again. The sidewalk and the multi-use path will not be open. That'll be finished up later on. It looks like either by the end of the year or into 2026, as well as the lighting that'll go along. It'll have nice decorative lighting like you see, useful decorative lighting like you see on the Stimson or the Richland Avenue Bridge. So it really will be a nice looking project when everything is completed, but it'll be great to have it two-way again.
Mayor, may I ask a question?
Yes, you can.
It just occurred to me, will the Stimson Avenue Bridge have the ability to have banners like the Richland Avenue Bridge? On those
Possibly.
light poles? It's a nice entrance to the city.
Possibly. I will look into that.
Thank you.
But thank you for saying that, because I've been thinking about that too. Those are, I mean, I think everyone likes them. Okay, I'm getting head nods from the crowd. That's a good sign. Thank you, President Crowell. I'll make sure that we're able to get banner hangers up there and make sure they're stout enough to not see them floating down the Hocking River during high wind events or inclement ice storms, right, Councilman Reisner?
Thank you very much. We will now move on to ordinances for third reading. Tonight we start with ordinance 112-25. This is an ordinance amending Athens City Code Title 23, Zoning, Chapter 23.04, Permitted Uses, to allow temporary shelters as a permitted use in an R3 residential zone at 1, 5, and 7 North Congress Street. At third reading, this is introduced by Jessica Thomas of the Planning and Development Committee.
Thank you, President Crowell. We've been through this a few times over the last few months, so I am going to jump down to just the principal permitted uses to go over those real quick, and then we'll move on to comments from council. Principal permitted uses, temporary housing shelters, 1, 5, and 7 North Congress Street, commonly known as the Gathering Place and owned by Athens Mental Health Incorporated. Housing structures of a temporary nature that are not affixed to the property and do not contain kitchen or bathroom facilities. Will include an annual review, must be formally reviewed and renewed every year by the Service Safety Director. Infrastructure limitation of no more than 3 temporary housing shelters may be installed per sink and toilet located within 200 feet of the shelters. This approval may be revoked at any time by the Service Safety Director for serious safety or sanitation concerns. The approval shall cease upon transfer of the property to different ownership. I know I have some thoughts and comments from the last couple meetings that I was going to share, but I wanted to check with everyone else on council first.
Is there a motion to adopt?
Oh, I moved. Can I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Check my number here.
We have a motion and a second for approval. Are there any comments or questions from city council members? Yes, Member Clodfelter.
I have one comment. I know that a lot of people have suggested other locations for this, but none of the people who suggested that are the owners of the land. And I really think that the Gathering Place parking lot is the very best place in the city to put this. You would have a really well-respected center like the Gathering Place on one side of the parking lot, where there are a lot of really well-qualified social worker types, some of whom have spoken here. And on the other side is a recovery house, which also has kind of social worker types. And there is a 24/7 camera in that parking lot. And for good measure, from a certain angle in that parking lot, you can see the sheriff's department. So I'm not sure there would be anywhere else in the city of Athens that would be as appropriate and safe as this.
Thank you, Member Clodfelter. Other council members, Member Spilnis.
Yeah, I think I've spoken to this so many times I can do it verbatim, but I thought I'd add a couple of things. So to summarize, I have a long association through my family and through the fact that I was a social work professor at Ohio University, and my students volunteered, many students volunteered there over the many years I was at Ohio University, and it all went well. And as we saw in previous meetings, other social work faculty and associated folks also said it's still working well. And so I think that it's an important opportunity to see how well we can serve a population that has needs of this kind. And I can't think of any place better than the folks at the Gathering Place. I trust them very much. I also happened to run into the sheriff the other day and asked him about it, and he seemed quite fine about having them there. How about that? And like was said, they're in view and there's cameras. And basically they've gone over, beyond and over any possible thing they could do to make this a safe possible place for folks. And so I think it's an excellent plan. And I've gone over it because I know Ginger, and I've gone over this and known what they've been doing and looked at the huts and all that for some time now. I am very much in favor of moving forward with this.
Thank you, Member Spilnis. Member McCary.
Thank you, President Crowell. I think something I've noticed in this ongoing discussion about potentially approving this rezoning for the Gathering Place specifically for this purpose is that a lot of folks have had a difficult time envisioning what this might look like and even envisioning the site. So it's helpful that we've heard some comments about the fact that it's within view of the sheriff's office. And now for folks who haven't seen it recently, there is even somewhat of a privacy fence that's blocking you from even seeing what before people critiqued as an eyesore of a parking lot anyway, but I do want to acknowledge that community members have really asked council to be thoughtful in listening to all sides of this perspective, and I want to acknowledge that one of those perspectives is the legal perspective, and that's heavily grounded in the legal opinion that Law Director Eliason provided us that identified some of the potential risks of this rezoning. Since then, I believe we've had some conversations about whether or not some of those risks would be mitigated if we rezoned a larger portion of the city. And I believe we've also had some considerations regarding the fact that there may be risk, but the magnitude of that risk is up for debate in terms of how likely it is for someone to apply to do this kind of operation and be able to meet the requirements. So I do want to reiterate that this is something that, if approved, council has the ability to undo in the future. And I just want to emphasize that when we have really complicated, challenging situations and problems that we're trying to solve, it's really important that we listen to the experts. It's very reasonable to understand that people have sincere feelings of fear and uncertainty about this, but that speculation about what could go wrong is necessary to balance alongside what we know from the social workers and from the professionals who've commented. We know that this has gone through the planning commission, so we have folks who consider these kinds of decisions for the city of Athens on a regular basis who've really thought long and hard and made the recommendation that council approve this. And we've had, as you've heard, people weigh in from law enforcement and a number of other areas. But with the importance of acknowledging the legal perspective in this, and since we do have the law director with us this evening, I did just want to invite her to comment on any observations she's had about the discussions that have taken place on this issue and how council might move forward.
I don't really have any further comment on it. I wrote the opinion, and I thought it's spot zoning, but I understand people have different opinions on the ramifications of what the spot zoning will be, and that's where we'll leave it. I think the mayor may have a comment to make about it also.
Thank you, Law Director, Member McCary. City Council members, anybody else like to speak to this? Member Thomas.
I have just some notes from the last few meetings where I was just taking note of things that I thought should be clarified, corrected, shared. One of them was that it was a rushed process, so I went through the timeline, and because, some people are newer to town or aren't always paying attention to what's going on with so much going on, this project started in planning in 2023, probably before that, but officially in 2023 with the prototype test hut was approved in the fall, and actually has been sitting next to the gathering place this entire time. In the fall of 24, they began working to get the project going down at West Union Street, and when that was shut down by some of the same complaints we're hearing now, they moved on to discussing that they would just try to do it on their own property, which brought the discussion to the Planning Commission in May of 25. So it's been a couple years going. It's been 6 months in this space. Some of the confusing parts that I heard last week, or I guess 2 weeks ago maybe, was understanding the process and what the gathering place is and what is happening. It is not a drop-in shelter. They're not building a drop-in shelter. This is the same facility that's been in this space for 50 years. It serves a community of people that are getting treatment, counseling, peer counseling for mental illness, addiction, trauma. This is just a way for them to have another tool to support those as they come out of handling their trauma, as they get close to getting permanent housing, and just a new way that they can try and support their community. There's really nothing else being added to this facility. There were a lot of comments that people seem to think this was an open door shelter, and I've got some notes on the other shelters in a minute here, but basically it is not that. It is a highly vetted, highly processed situation that they're well versed in. I think supervision has been covered up here already tonight, just on the cameras, where it's located, next to the bridge house, lots of rules and established processes. Over the course of all this, we've had a lot of people asking or mentioning, that we have other places like the Timothy House or the Sunset coming on, and why that's not going to be enough. Just some thoughts on those is that none of those are drop-in shelters. They are all working within a system that's either within their own system, with an entry process, or within the state and regional systems. They have an interview process. They have a way you get in. It is not just a show up, first come, first serve at any of those. Gathering place, just as more notes, is a daytime peer counseling. Everyone is expected to be working in treatment, getting counseling, being engaged, and showing steps of moving forward and building community. The Timothy House is an overnight evening shelter. They must be receiving services, working on moving forward. They have a lot of rules. They have a very high standard entry process of vetting people, and it's also a community building focus. Sunset will open sometime next year, still in development. Also, not a drop-in shelter. It works with those who are already in the HMIS, the Homeless Management Information System, in the state to get people into housing. The focus on finding housing with the emergency shelter is a last resort or step, and it's a triage system of moving people from being unhoused to house. It's non-congregate. It's going to have singles, doubles, and triples so they can work with families. And I was asked when I spoke with them to clarify that there are 48 beds, not rooms, not 84, not whatever numbers are being thrown out. 48 beds broken down between singles, doubles, and triples. All of those systems all of those places have systems and processes for entry. This fear that, it's just people are coming from outside and showing up from all over the country is extremely unfounded. We have a very high population right now in the community and have, going back looking at emails, news articles from 2007, 2009, 2011, that this is a growing continued process or a problem. We've heard a lot about safety. Safety and change, we've talked about low-income housing in this room. We've talked about emergency warming shelters. And the automatic reaction to addressing these things and to addressing unhoused people in general is to immediately cite crime and safety. It ignores the fact that all these people are here, that they are already living here, they are working here, they're getting counseling here, and they are sleeping somewhere. That's without safety or shelter already. Using a housing first frame of thinking that when people are housed, they are better able to focus on getting their other needs met, which is immediately going to address any actual concerns of safety and crime. We had a really lovely email from Mason Korb, and his final sentence in the email I thought really kind of encompassed a lot of this, is the Conestoga hut is the opposite of this approach of unplanned. It is a planned, supervised, humane alternative to people freezing behind dumpsters. It is what common sense and compassion look like working together. And my last thoughts on this are just that if we spent half as much energy trying to solve these problems and address them in new ways, in different ways, in established ways, than we do dragging our feet, kicking and screaming, bringing up the same NIMBY attitude over and over again, we would have a lot more lifting up, building up, and growing of our community than we spend months arguing over things that are going to help 3 people. So that's all I have left to say on that, I think.
Thank you, Member Thomas. Any other comments or questions from City Council? Yes, Member Wood.
The only thing I wanted to add, 2 things that I'd like to add. One, thank you all for coming. Thank you all for writing us and for taking the time. To me, that shows that you care. The opposite of love is not hate, it's apathy. And so I appreciate everybody that's taken the time to write, whether you agree with us or not. Email is a terrible venue to convince people of things and such not, and we don't actually get to talk to most of you about these things. That's kind of the nature of it. And so I'm always really thankful that people engage with us and are here. The other thing I'd add, my dad always says that people come to schools and council because it's the one place of government that actually has to listen to them and actually has to spend time with them. And so we're trying to do that. I think I was really moved by what Gabe said a couple weeks ago. We don't always listen well. It's also tough to do that. It's tough to respond to all these emails. I don't respond to most of them. If you're stating an opinion, probably don't. But it's tough to model good discourse when we're up here sometimes, and I think we've seen some less than ideal examples throughout. So on my own end, I just want to say, that I am always trying to do better at that, and that I appreciate those communications, and that I think that kind of transparency and accountability is important. So, thank you.
Thank you, Member Wood. Anybody else on council? Elected officials, anything on this administration? Anything to add on this ordinance?
I do, and there's a couple things to add. One is to circle back around to what the law director was talking about with all the language and conversations about spot zoning and so on and so forth with the law director's legal opinion, which I respect. Spot zoning, a legal case for spot zoning is typically where adjoining or neighboring properties are not experiencing the same advantage as the property that is being awarded something like what we're talking about in this tonight. I can tell you, if those adjoining properties would also like to put Conestoga huts to help people who are unhoused, that'd be great. But that's not what's being said. I mean, that's not the conversation when the topic comes up on spot zoning. Again, that's typically how this works, is if a business is given a change of zoning or an advantage that otherwise isn't experienced within that zone, those who feel they have been discriminated against in terms of having that same advantage, can make a case for that. This is the complete opposite as I'm listening to the conversation surrounding that. The other thing I want to share is something related to the Halloween block party that just occurred here in the city of Athens, where we have a large gathering on Court Street where we shut it down and so on and so forth. I always get a briefing after the Halloween block party as to what has happened on Court Street in the hours in which it was being held and after. And one of the things that I want to share with all of you that was kind of staggering to our police chief and a little bit staggering to me was the number of reported assaults that occurred during the Halloween block party, and the vast majority were women students against other women students, which my police chief has never seen that before. He said, how odd was that? There was not one report in there where a homeless or unhoused individual assaulted anybody in the uptown during that event. I've said this before, I'll say it again. The risk of someone assaulting someone else, for whatever the reason is, in the uptown corridor is, we've seen it. We have the data. Anybody can access that data. It is typically going to be the same age range that is our population here to go to school at Ohio University against another individual of that same age range going to school at Ohio University. That's fact. Rare, if ever, has there been an unhoused individual assaulting someone who's in the uptown area. So I just have to set the record straight because I've been getting the same emails and the same cases that all of you on council have, and I appreciate people reaching out, with concern. I understand where that you can voice your concern about things, but just being clear on where a lot of this fear, what's founded and what is not founded when it comes to creating fear. We're living in a world right now of let's make everyone afraid of everything. We are. And this is one of those prime examples of creating fear over something that is unfounded fear for people who found themselves one emergency room visit, one paycheck, one mental health crisis away from being unhoused and living in their car. I've said this before, I'll say it again. I'm a health psychologist by training. I know this world, much like Councilmember Spielness or anybody else who works in that sector. I am not a clinician. I got to say that first and foremost, although my training, I understand it and I get it because it's the world in which I lived as an academician at Ohio University, and prior to that, working on my PhD. So I'm no stranger to the situation that people can find themselves in, and now we're finding it more than ever before. And again, I mentioned this on the front end, I'm going to say it again. that with the changes at the federal level, where we're gonna see changes in Medicare, it's just going to get worse when people have to make those hard decisions about, am I paying my rent? Am I paying mortgage? Am I gonna put food on my table? Or am I going to have to pay a doubling of my health care at this point in time? So this bigger problem is not going away, folks. So I'll get off my soapbox. I just had to get that out there because I feel like if we're giving 3 people in our community temporary housing in a time of need, as Councilmember Thomas said, it's 3 people. It's not long-term housing. It's to help them get their feet back under them again. Enough said.
Thank you, Mayor. We now turn to the audience. Is there anyone here who would like to speak to this? Please state your name and your address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
My name's Andy Vogt, 91425 Points Road, Athens, Ohio. Before I get started, I just want to thank all the members of council who took the time to respond to my email. I really appreciate every one of you guys getting back to me, so thank you very much. Councilmember McCary, I appreciate you speaking of the legal ramifications as well. Today I had a meeting with a local architect who is a state building code professional. And it was a pretty interesting conversation we had because he indicated to us that the structures that are going up are technically called transient lodging structures. Now, the definition of a transient lodging structure is a single dwelling unit structure held out to the public for lodging for no more than 20 transient occupants. These examples includes cabins, yurts, cottages, bungalows, and chalets. They then narrow it down a little bit more to the term primitive transient lodging structures, which I do believe that these things are. And those are a transient lodging structure with only provision for sleeping and no building services, equipment, or piping. This means no power. In one of my emails, Councilmember Spenlis, you had mentioned that these units will all have charging capabilities and lighting. So that includes power. So that technically could render these things as illegal. The second information I had learned was there is something called a fire separation distance. And that total is right around 60 foot and between these structures. And I think that would make it so there would not be the ability to put 3 of these on that location. And due to the fact that it goes from the center of the road or the sidewalks, this location may not even be suitable for any of these primitive lodging structures. I want to also thank Law Director Eliason. We brought this information to her, and hopefully she was able to do it. It was last second. I thank you again for taking time to meet with us. Appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to respond, if I could have a moment.
Please.
So this afternoon, Mr. Vogt and Mr. Hayes and Mr. Stauffer did come in to see me and provided me with the 2017 Ohio Building Code. And it does talk about transient lodging structures. The structures located to maintain a minimum fire separation distance of 30 feet. But that was the 2017 building code, and I looked up the 2024 building code, and it has expanded quite a bit. Transient lodging structures, but then also primitive or semi-primitive transient lodging structures no greater than 400 feet that provide permanent provision for sleeping only. And it's expanded. There's also the primitive or semi-primitive transient lodging structures greater than 400 feet. So, and looking at it, there are a couple exceptions. So we're looking at the one that's sleeping provisions only, no greater than 400 feet. And the exception, one of them is if the owner provides documentation, structure is not a place of public accommodation, as defined in the Code of Federal Regulations. But then the bigger exception here is if it says the semi-private transient lodging structures are not required to comply with the following provisions of the code. And it states if the semi-primitive structure does not contain conditioned space or has a peak design rate of energy usage of less than 3.4 BTUs or 1.0 watts per foot, I guess that's per foot, is described in the International Energy Conservation Code. So it's really expanded a lot since 2017, and there seem to be a couple exceptions, and not seem to be, there are a couple exceptions, and I think that what we're talking about for the Conestoga huts would fall into the exceptions for two reasons. One, the condition, it doesn't have conditioned space, and I don't believe that the peak design rate of usage would be greater than what they have in the building code, but also that the structure is not a place of public accommodation. I looked up the definition from the Code of Federal Regulations for public accommodation, and a facility operated by a private entity, which this would be, but whose operation affects commerce. And I don't think that this has anything to do with commerce. So there are a couple exceptions here. So I don't think the 2024 code, expanded code, would apply. And I'd be glad to give Mr. Stauffer a copy of that, or anyone else. I only brought 4 copies, so.
We appreciate your research, Law Director.
And I do appreciate them coming in this afternoon so
Yes,
that I
thank you,
wasn't
Mr. Vogt.
blindsided this evening.
Sorry to keep you waiting.
Thank
Please.
you. My name is Susan McNish, and I live at 5550 Gun Club Road in Athens. And first of all, I want to thank everybody on council for taking so much time and effort and thought, and I'm sure questioning an issue that has been obviously on the minds of many of people in our community. And I want to piggyback off of some of what has been said, because I did a little research on Conestoga huts, and I'm sure you all did too, but I found that actually supporting the construction and use of Conestoga huts is not a far-fetched, obscure issue or approach at all. And in the past decades, communities throughout the country have actually embraced these temporary shelters for vulnerable people. And for example, there's a video that anybody can take a look at from Boise, Idaho. And in 2016, a school project was supported which enabled high school students to design and build huts for people in their city in need. And when we think of Boise, Idaho, we don't exactly think of, the most radical area in the country. But they decided, based on a need, they found a solution and acted on it. And I'm hoping, and it appears as if we're moving in that direction, that 10 years later, Athens is going to do the same right here. And I just want to say that I really do agree with what Mayor Patterson said. In a time of what it seems apparent that the safety net for people struggling, the holes are going to get deeper and wider, and that our state and federal governments are doing nothing or maybe a little to address this crisis. It's really imperative that we actually use our local communities as leadership to take and offer respite for those that are struggling the most. And it appears as if you're going to help support that. So many people, I was here a couple weeks ago, I missed the first one, but so many people came in and spoke about the need in this community and shared personal stories, professional stories, and it was really, really moving. I know as temperatures are dropping, we're more concerned than ever that the most vulnerable are out there in this inclement weather that is coming, and I'm really hoping that we will find some at least have a few people have a more safe and secure and comfortable winter in Athens. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jack Stoffer, Elmwood. Not one person who has spoken to council has been critical of the history of the service provided by the gathering place. What we all have been questioning is your lack of judgment and responsibility to your citizens by your misguided efforts to start a homeless encampment in the heart of the downtown area. Why not err on the side of caution? This is what responsible people do in everyday life's decisions. Let's address facts that you choose to ignore. Lisa's opinion on spot zoning, you ignore. You're holding R3B3 over our head like hostages for leverage. The whistleblower letter that you received, I've never heard mentioned in public. Orrin Apple, sex offender, had a sexual affair with the past executive director while the current executive director did nothing. Past director was fired and stripped of her credentials. Malachi Love, sex offender with a juvenile, and the current director allowed him to receive services. I believe this is a pattern. Just last year, a location on Union Street was pushed for, and there are many other locations, but the only place in town that this mayor and council will accept is in the downtown parking lot. You dismissed the ladies who live next door along with the owner of that house. What about their fear and anxiety? What about that owner's property rights and his ability to rent to females? Is that inclusion? The gathering place has been serving folks for many years, and no one has ever lived in the parking lot. They walk, bus, or take a car. If a parent put their child in one of these huts in their driveway and a neighbor called Job and Family Services, I bet they would remove the child from the situation. And today, in a meeting with the police chief, he agreed. You say after 1 year, you will review. That is so vague. What's that mean? 1 more porta potty and 3 more huts? 2 more porta potties and 6 more huts? Tighten up the law. Why let us concerned citizens wonder what this will develop into? From the beginning, it will be unsightly and unsanitary. You already put up an unsightly, jakey fence. You remove people from city property because you don't want them there, and then place them on display downtown, the hub of our community, close to our middle school, where young girls and ladies of all ages feel uncomfortable in that area. Is that what we hired you to do? There is absolutely no upside for the community, and there is a hell of a lot of downside possibilities. This gives the area an image of desperation, and remember, desperate people have desperate ways. We elected you to look out for our town and its current taxpaying residents. Forget your politics and show true responsibility to our citizens, students, and the alumni and parents, and not have them thinking, this town is not what I remember, or worse, this town is going to hell. Do you want us to lose our small city charm for big city crime and image?
Thank you.
Before I begin, can I make a request? I have a disability. I'm hard of hearing, and I have not been able to understand a single word any of you have said this entire time. I am incredibly lost. With that being said, Council President, members of the council, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today. My name is Orrin Underhill, and I live at 85 Central Avenue. I'm a master's student in social work at OU and a constituent. I'm here today in an official capacity as a foundations intern with UCM. I'm here to speak in favor of the Conestoga Hut project. I don't think I need to convince the council members, but as a social worker interning with an organization that provides for unhoused population through its programming, it's important that I alleviate some of the public's concerns. To help with this, I have a few facts. According to research done by the Coalition on Homelessness and Housing in Ohio, in January 2024, there were around 30-ish people dealing with homelessness in Athens. According to the most recent available census data, the population of Athens is around 25,000 people. This accounts for less than 0.1% of the population. Thinking in terms of money, it would be less than a penny out of $100. Although I do admit that we have reason to believe the numbers from the coalition are underreported. The National Coalition for the Homeless has reported an increase in violence against people experiencing homelessness. In fact, almost 2,000 hate crimes against the homeless have been recorded in the last 23 years by the organization. Having a fenced-in, monitored, private space for the unhoused to rest will provide increased safety for a population that is, in fact, at higher risk of violence than the rest of the population. As the criminalization of the homeless increases, we must remember that the homeless are people just like us, deserving all the unalienable rights supposedly granted us by the U.S. Constitution, including the right to life. A 2019 wealth survey by Charles Schwab reported that almost 60% of American households are one paycheck away from experiencing homelessness. This was before the pandemic. If you were in this situation, would not you rather have access to help? As a student and a constituent, I'm personally relieved to see that the city is attempting to address some of the concerns of housing instability in the region. Providing assistance on the ground will allow the people served by this program to become stronger members of our community. Landlords who fear the effects of these huts may one day rent out their apartments to the people who benefit from this project. That's more income in a landlord's pocket and more money staying in the local economy. Sometimes doing the right thing is scary. Fear is uncomfortable. Sit with that fear and ask what you would want to happen if this were to happen to you. Because you are more likely to become homeless than to become a millionaire. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alex Nickel, 40 North McKinley Avenue. I think it's important to ask what has led to these concerns. I believe the answer is simple: fear. One group fearing another. I'm an Ohio University student and I study the evolution of modern human behavior. One major driver of our behavior is competitive adaptations rooted in fear. Over time, humans became hardwired to form in-groups and out-groups. We instinctively fear and dehumanize the out-group, and at one point, this was beneficial in helping our early hominin ancestors survive. In small hunter-gatherer groups, food, territory, and mates were scarce. People had to rely on the in-group, and they had to fear the out-group. Today, conditions are entirely different, yet these adaptations remain. As a result, they have become maladaptive and have led to some of the greatest tragedies in human history. Slavery, genocide, oppression. How could these things happen? Well, I'll tell you. Dehumanization of the outgroup. In every case, the in-group labeled the outgroup as dangerous, savage, violent. They're no longer people. They're threats. And what we're talking about today is just another example of this dehumanization. The outgroup being a group commonly referred to as the homeless. No longer are these individuals viewed as people. They're the homeless, a group. An outgroup. An outgroup which is perceived as a threat to the safety and prosperity of the in-group, portrayed as dangerous individuals who walk the streets raping and mugging people. That's the stereotype many see when referring to the homeless. Throughout my life, I've been categorized as a member of many groups. The suburban kid, the student, the addict, the mentally ill, the alcoholic. As a result, I am fortunate enough to have a variety of friends who come from very different backgrounds and live in very different situations. Despite their different situations in life, all of my friends have so much in common. I see the same emotions, the same drive, the same passions, the same longings, and the same love amongst all of them. Why? Because at the end of the day, we're all just humans. The only real difference between us is the groups that we place on each other. And so I urge everyone, let us learn from the mistakes of our past. While we do have competition wired within us, we also have a profound sense of cooperation, love, and connection. No one is at fault for having competitive tendencies. It is simply how our evolutionary timeline has played out. However, we are not bound by them. We may not have the ability to choose what motivations are present within us, but we do have the ability to choose which motivations we act on. Let us choose to stop acting on fear and start acting on love. We are all people. Let us walk together as one.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mizan Ali. I live on the east side. I'm speaking on behalf of United Athens County Tenants, Southeast Ohio's only tenant-led tenant advocacy group. We strongly urge council to pass this ordinance. According to the Ohio Housing Finance Agency, the median rental price for a two-bedroom apartment in Ohio increased 22% from 2019 to 2024, and over a quarter of Ohio tenants now pay more than half their incomes on rent. In the same time, our state's homeless population has increased by 10%. Also, Athens County has the second lowest median household income, combined with the second highest median rent. And for every 100 extremely low-income households, we have only 35 affordable housing units available. When I moved here in 2022, as a single mom with 2 kids, when I was finally given a Section 8 voucher after a year of waiting, I was told it was pretty unlikely I would find a place in Athens I could use that. I think they told me about a 35% chance. They told most of the room that they wouldn't find a place. Homelessness doesn't only hurt tenants who are made homeless, it hurts every tenant who still has a home. Because the more people are made homeless, the more we stigmatize people for being homeless, the more we deny the homeless access to shelter, and the harder we make it for people to survive being homeless, the easier it is to make more people homeless. Homelessness is caused by unaffordable housing. If there's something to fear, we should fear the lack of housing access. It makes no sense to deny people access to life-saving shelter. So we urge council to do the right thing tonight and pass this ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Daniel West, 9 Euclid Drive, Athens. I am a staff member at the Gathering Place. As such, I will be part of the team helping make sure this project runs smoothly. We're not trying to do this and create extra work for ourselves because it's fun, but because of our mission and because it's important. As we have found many times over the past 49 years with different things, somebody has to do it. I believe this project has been delayed enough. Lots of us talk about housing being a major issue Athens is facing, and this is part of that. A stable shelter can lead to permanent housing. I really appreciate that I'm echoing a lot of what some other people have said already. And the odds are that everyone in this room is affected by mental health conditions or substance use disorder, whether it's yourself, a family member, or a loved one. My point is the people that we want to help are us. A lot of us don't think about it, but for various reasons, we could all be like 2 steps away from becoming unhoused ourselves. Medical crisis, losing your job, or a problem with your landlord. We as staff at the Gathering Place even have known people that became temporarily unsheltered because they were trying to escape an abusive situation. I'd like to suggest 2 small things. if anybody out there has doubts about how urgent this is, maybe set your alarm for 4 a.m., go sit outside for 10 minutes, then imagine trying to sleep and being able to function the next day. Also, for some people have been feeling motivated to speak out, whether it's from safety concerns, trying to preserve our community, or other reasons. I'd suggest let's speak out against the root causes of these problems that we're seeing, not the people that are suffering. Thank you.
Thank you.
Emerson Young, 105 South Green Drive. Before I start, pretty cool thing I got here, so congratulations on that. The bookmark here, it's going to be a nice keepsake. I have listened to a lot of things tonight. I've heard from some of these people the concerns that I originally had have gotten a little bit better with the huts being covered in and with that. But I still think there's still some safety concerns just with the crime. The mayor pointed out Halloween. I agree with you. It was bad, and some sort of areas. I still think we should still look at the US 33 area over there. I know we mentioned zoning is probably not the best idea with that. There's some other fear-mongering issues I want to touch on too. Someone was mentioning about property value. I'm personally not worried about property values going down in there. The students like to get area to go to party over there, so I don't think the value is going to be quickly affected over there. But I still think we need to maybe just do a little more research on this. I'm not fully opposed as what I was maybe 2 weeks ago when I was here at City Council, but I still think some further research needs to be done on that. And for one further point, congratulations, Mr. McCary, on winning the City Council position. I wish you great luck in your term.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Briar Poor. I'm a 7th grader at Athens Middle School, and I've heard people voice their concerns for the huts being there in near the middle school. As a middle schooler, I would like to say that I walked past the gathering place and where the huts would be often after school, and I don't feel that them being there will change much around them nor bring a threat to my safety. The people that will be sleeping in the huts will only be there during night and not during the day, which is when school is scheduled. Therefore, that would be giving them a safe place to sleep rather than them resorting to an unsafe environment to sleep. While students are around, the people in the huts will not be present. So there's my short point of view of as a middle schooler to support this project, and I thought it would be nice for you to hear an opinion from a middle schooler. With that, thank you for your time.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
I'll finish filling that out real quick after. Thank you, Briar. That was amazing. Thank you for speaking. It takes a lot of courage, and it can be scary, so thank you. My name's Megan, and I'm an intern at the Gathering Place. Lately, I've been thinking about how the individuals the Gathering Place serves are just like anyone else. They're working to improve their lives, trying to find employment, secure a place to live, and become part of society. If they stay in the Conestoga huts, gain stability, and earn an income, they will be able to make the same housing choices as any other resident in Athens. They could live in an R1, an R2, an R3 zone. They could live on Congress Street. They could live by the middle school, and they could live anywhere else near campus. At that point, no one would really know they were once unhoused unless they chose to disclose that information. Many fears exist only because people are aware of their circumstances or because their housing looks different from what we expect. We don't usually question or fear for our safety when someone is moving into a traditional home or apartment near us, even if we don't know them personally. But when someone is homeless or their temporary housing is unconventional, suddenly there's concern, scrutiny, and fear. I've seen plenty of houses or apartments around the city that look more intimidating than the Conestoga huts. Should I assume the worst of the person who lives there? Any unsafe or violent person can live in a home too, and you might not even know it. If the concern is truly safety, the Gathering Places Conestoga Hut program already addresses that with locks, staff oversight, and support services. The Sheriff's Department is also visible from the parking lot. If you still feel fear, I urge you to examine whether it comes from concrete, verifiable facts about the Gathering Place and Conestoga Huts, or from biases and stigma towards unhoused people. If you are only now questioning a long-standing organization that has served this community for 50 years and questioning a model, the Conestoga Huts, that has shown its effectiveness in multiple other communities, then you haven't done enough research. And if the issue is the appearance of the huts or the residents' histories and that their temporary home is situated in a parking lot, then we're being unfair. I don't question where you live or why, and I don't judge my neighbors by the size or look of their homes. I ask that we treat members of the Gathering Place with the same dignity. If we assume the worst of every unhoused or low-income person, then the homelessness crisis will never improve. We cannot create solutions while treating people themselves as the problem. As a reminder, the student housing has spread and built its way around the Gathering Place, not the other way around. To my knowledge, the Gathering Place has not argued or questioned where students choose to live. The Gathering Place was already there when they decided to enroll at Ohio University or sign their lease. Again, not the other way around. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Michelle Hahn, 774 West Union. Excuse me, probably 13. I have to laugh hysterically about how Athens is in this really strange bubble. I lived in Dallas, Texas for 7 years. Yeah, this would be a problem there. I lived in a rural Midwestern college town 6 hours west of here on US 50. Yeah, if you really don't like homeless people, that's the right rural Midwestern college town for you. That's where they bully people who are homeless and unhoused. This is not. Athens has never been. I was a student here 20 years ago. Athens, if you are new here, you're unfamiliar with the Athens character. If you've been here long enough, you've forgotten Athens character. This is Athens. We take care of our people, and yeah, if you're in the wrong place, if you don't want to do that here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Brent Hayes. I have a couple different businesses here in town. I don't live in Athens. I live outside of Athens. But really appreciate your time, and everyone I think has some good points here and a lot of compassion. What this lady just said, I couldn't agree more with her. And we need to take care of people from Athens County, not just Athens City, but Athens County. So if we've got homeless people that are from Athens County, we need to take care of them. We need to take good care of them. But I'm, talking to a few of the law enforcement folks. A lot of these folks, unhoused folks, are not from Athens County. They used to say they knew most of them. They knew them by name. A lot of these people now aren't from here, but they're coming to Athens. So I think we need to take care of the people, like you said earlier, the people in Athens County. We really need to take care of them, and I'm all for that. Keith Wasserman has a program. I get these things mixed up. I think that might be part of the Timothy House. I've heard nothing, a great, I don't know a lot about the Gathering Place, but I know Keith has, he's got a lot of vacancy too. I think around 16 the last I knew. I know there is a lot of structure there, and there's rules and regulations, which to have successful things, a lot of times, that's what you need. And I guess these wagons, I guess I just learned the Conestoga wagons, which I actually have a Conestoga wagon. It wouldn't be very warm tonight. I'd probably want to put a heater or something in it. And I think that's what Mr. Vogt had talked about earlier is the most important thing was the life safety issue, the fire separation, the distance between the wagons. It wasn't so much of the infrastructure in the wagon, but I was in the meeting with the architect, and I think, actually I did a project and I was 58 feet away and I had to go back and get a variance from the state because I wasn't 60 feet away. And these were some metal structures. But if there's just 3 people, if there's 3 wagons, there's going to be 3 people, I guess. 3. So rather than sleeping in a wagon, I mean, they're vetted folks. Why couldn't these 3 people, stay inside in the Gathering Place? I mean, if they're vetted, and it'd be a lot warmer in there, and there's infrastructure there. So if I had my choice to go into the Gathering Place or sleep in a Conestoga wagon, I'd probably take that, and I'm not sure. Maybe that's an option. I would hope it would be, but the location, I would think would be a concern just because of where it is. Me personally, I'm not sure that that's the best location. I've heard people say that, that they think it's a really good location, but I just, with the middle school students, and then just that environment of, actually I slept in my truck up here a couple times when they had the bike race. I brought hay or something up here, and it's not a real good, there's just a lot of noise and things. If there was a location that was maybe quieter, if we need it, with the sunset coming on board, maybe there won't be a need. And I guess I talk slow, so I didn't get a lot out, but you kind of got my message. And thanks for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Council President Crow, members of council, thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. My name is Ari Faber, and I live at 23 Meadow Lane, and I'm the Executive Director of United Campus Ministry, speaking tonight in official capacity. I'm here again in strong support of the rezoning that would allow the Gathering Place to proceed with the small Conestoga hut pilot. First, this proposal is not an encampment. It is 3 small, insulated micro shelters on a fenced, camera-monitored lot adjacent to an organization that has served Athens for nearly 50 years. These huts are locked during the day. Participants are screened, connected to mental health services, and supported by case managers. This is one of the most structured and controlled forms of temporary shelter that exists. Second, I hear that the fear that this will make people feel less safe, especially young women on the west side. I want to acknowledge that fear. It is real and deserves respect. But we must also ground our decisions in facts. Evidence shows that managed micro-shelter sites reduce unmanaged camping, reduce loitering, and reduces calls for service in the surrounding area. When people have somewhere to go at night, they are not sleeping in doorways, stairwells, or wooded areas. A well-run shelter site increases predictability and safety, not the opposite. Third, I hear about property values, people concerned that property values are going to go down, or neighborhood character. This is a tightly scoped, time-limited pilot serving about 10 people per year. It does not expand beyond this single parcel, and the zoning change requires review after the first year. This means accountability is built in. If the project does not perform as expected, council can act accordingly. Finally, I'd like to recenter why we are all here tonight. Every person who will use these huts is already a member of our community. They are already living in Athens, just without stable housing. Some are trying to recover from mental health crises. Some are fleeing unsafe situations, and all of them need a safe and structured place to sleep while they work towards permanent housing. This project gives them exactly that: safety, supervision, stability, and a pathway forward. Athens always has chosen compassion paired with responsibility, and this pilot is both. I urge you to vote yes on this rezoning, not because it's the easiest choice, but because it is the right and responsible one for our neighbors, for public safety, and for the community that we want to be. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Kent Lacus. I think I'm signing the wrong sheet, but
That's
I only
okay.
charge $10 per autograph, so you know. I've already spoken many, many times. Thank you all for those opportunities. Thank you all for listening to everyone. You know, that's a heavy burden that you have on your shoulders to be part of, you know, include the whole community. I want to really specifically thank the young lady from the middle school who came up here to speak, because, you know, even I still get nervous talking to you people. But it's very important that, especially considering a lot of people are bringing her and her peers into this discussion, so we've been able to hear from someone. I just want to talk really quickly about hope. When I was displaced, that became a foreign word to me, hope. It was almost impossible for me to find secure employment, stable employment. And believe me, you know me, I looked. I mean, Mr. Hayes, I played at your 70s party a few years ago. I was Elton John, if you remember. Neither here nor there, but, you know, with the safety and the security of shelter, of stable housing, of the services provided by the Gathering Place with their proven track record, I'm a taxpayer. I pay my rent, you know. I have hope. Earlier this morning, I was walking up Court Street, and another notable local landlord ran out of his rental office on Court Street, and he told me how proud he was of me, of how inspired my story was. And I want to be able to help give 3 people, 1 person, anybody, that ability to have hope, to inspire others. This is Athens. We are not like any other place in the world. And I have been all over the world. And something always brings me back to Athens, because the unique flavor of this place, of seeing that flag, it inspires hope. You know, there's a reason that people come here to be students, to pursue their higher education. There's a reason that they stay. So let's keep giving them reasons to stay and become taxpayers and productive members of our society. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Aiden Fox. I'm an Ohio University student. I'm a formerly homeless person, and I want to start by saying I absolutely do support aid for the homeless. However, I also do oppose this ordinance. I first want to start by giving a sharp condemnation of certain comments made by the Athens community, including some comments that have been made tonight, comments that have attacked and publicly shamed the many women and others who actually live near these proposed huts. Student votes and voices will be happily accepted when it comes time to raise taxes, pass levies, and support whatever new initiative or ballot issue is thrown our way. But the moment students who actually live near the Gathering Place speak out against a single proposal, they get called entitled brats, prejudiced, hateful, biased, fearmongers, and we get told that we are the security threat. Students outnumber permanent Athens residents at a rate of 5-to-1 and the homeless of 50-to-1. Of course, there are more student crimes. In fact, it's far more statistically likely that it's going to be a student-on-student crime. None of this negates the fact that being homeless is still an aggravating factor in being a victim or a perpetrator of crime. You cannot lecture us in saying how diverse and inclusive Athens is if it only applies to voices that already agree with you. But it feels like the disregard for our voices on this issue doesn't stop there. As it was helpfully mentioned, there is already a fully constructed hut within the parking lot of the gathering place. There is already a privacy barrier. This, I thought, was the very issue in question. And in fact, this hut project has been tried in other locations and been shut down due to the exact same concerns that people have been bringing up for weeks here. And yet it is being done once again. It feels as if this issue was decided months ago, and where the only question since then has been where to put it. I don't know if I'm merely engaging in political theater rather than deliberate discussion. But since legitimate safety concerns are considered insincere form of argumentation, I'll engage the project on its own terms. Per the Gathering Place website, these huts will only be available to homeless individuals at nighttime. They will be made to go back out into the cold onto the street come morning. How is this a solution? How does this make us or the homeless more safe? The homeless can get frostbite just as easily during the day on the street as they can at night, and the scope of the project is limited to 10 expected individuals annually. Supporters have tried to say that both a nightly shelter is a transformative opportunity on one hand and, well, it's only 3 shelters, what are you worried about on the other? Which is it? They make promises that I believe would only be fulfilled by more secure or permanent housing opportunities. Now, I don't want any of this to be misconstrued as an indictment of the Gathering Place or their work. I have relied on resources like them before. I sincerely appreciate their existence, all that they do. As a formerly homeless person, I am saying that we need a better solution, one that is better than being proposed. This plan places undue risk and anxiety for a very speculative benefit. We need a solution that doesn't place these vulnerable people right next to a major bar crawl. We need something that provides real opportunity and not just nighttime relief to a handful of individuals. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ginger Schmallenberg, Shade, Ohio, Executive Director of I Serve People in Athens County and Athens City. Okay. I've been listening to our community members and others over the last few weeks, I guess it's actually months, at council committee meetings and council meetings, as leadership is about listening more than speaking. And I wanted to really understand others' opinions and learn from them. I have responded to some direct comments after reading articles or postings or letters. I've tried to do it in a professional manner on our social media. I provided the council clarifications when possible. Obviously, there's certain things that I cannot comment to because of individual privacy reasons. I've responded to the media when they have posed questions, providing the public with more accurate information. Many opponents of this project are generally good people and they want the best for their community. I do not look at this as taking sides. I look at this as a community learning to work with each other to address a very real housing crisis in our community, which happens to affect a large population of whom I serve. I have heard thoughtful comments from individuals who have suggested other sites. There have been other barriers for other sites. I am grateful for their insight, however, and if this pilot project, if we get the opportunity, indicates a need and is successful, I would love to have a future partnership with them and work with them to an area where maybe they feel that this would be better for our community. Today I'm wearing a t-shirt from the Athens County Foundation that bears the simple words: inclusion, collaboration, courage, hope, and trust. I want to use this as an example of what has been transpiring over the months about the Conestoga Hut project. Let me be clear, they are not wagons on wheels and will not be on wheels. That is just the prototype for demonstration. I felt true inclusion with everyone allowed to state their opinions freely in these meetings. I have learned so much more about collaboration through the Conestoga Hut project over the last year or more. Working with others, our board members, our members, the City of Athens, the Athens Foundation Co-Create Collaborative, and so many other community supporters that I don't even know by name. I noticed true courage when the young man who talked about growing up homeless felt the project wasn't a good idea, as he had had a negative lived experience of being homeless in a shelter or encampment when he was younger. Those we serve had told us the same thing about being in unsanctioned encampments in larger shelters in bigger cities. It is definitely quite common to have a crime committed against you from the population that you are around the most. It is the same for college females. It is statistically more common to have a crime committed against them by another college student, as this is the population that they are around the most. It also took courage for the young man who talked about his mental health disorder of autism in public, and courage for the college females who live next door to the gathering place to speak up about their fears. But I want to talk about hope. We hope to implement this project for the individuals we are currently serving who are giving up on hope of safety and warmth this season. There will always be individuals who give up hope, and we at the gathering place are in the business of giving people hope. This brings me to trust. It is essential to build trust within our community as we all navigate together solutions to our unhoused community members. And I think the Gathering Place's lived experience with serving our population and longevity of 50 years in the community, serving those who often have no others to trust, will be the fabric that binds the Conestoga Hut Project. We build trust with people that we serve, and this is why I know it can be successful, as I will have a trust with the individuals that I serve for them to be accountable to our programming and our mission. I hope that our community can have the courage to be inclusive towards those we serve, to collaborate, and to trust us with this vital community co-create project. We can then continue to work together as a community, sharing ideas and solutions that will have a more lasting impact on addressing our housing scarcity in Athens County. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak tonight to ordinance 112-25?
Lorena Kosker, 59 Elmwood. I support this rezoning, and I've already spoken before, so I think you're very aware of my feelings about this. I really appreciate what Jessica Thomas talked about, the fact that there's been so much discussion about this, that we could be working on solutions, and also the mayor talking about how this is really a critical time. And I received an email from the Coalition on Homelessness and Housing in Ohio, and they're talking about the federal government is making last-minute changes. They put it in the continuing resolution, which to try to open up the government last week, which would divert $3.5 billion away from Ohio's supportive housing and rapid rehousing programs. In Ohio, this would result in a shift of $80 million that will destabilize the housing of about 10,000 formerly homeless Ohioans. So this is from the Coalition on Homelessness, and there's a New York Times article. I sent it to all the council people, and also I sent it to the mayor. We really are facing a crisis, and it's getting worse. It's going to be worse. We all came together last week or the past few weeks and donated money because of the administration's holding up of SNAP benefits. This is really critical. We have to come up with some solutions. This is a fabulous solution, and I have nothing for respect for the Gathering Place. But we really need to work ahead and know that there is a severe crisis coming. And then I just want to finish with a short story. Last summer, not this summer, but the summer before, when it was so dreadfully hot, I met a woman who came to our community garden, and she was using it as respite, and she would bathe there. She was living in the woods with other people. And so I took her to the Gathering Place. I took her to Integrated Services to try to get resources. I took her to get her clothes clean. And so it was a very humbling experience. I learned a lot from the Gathering Place. We just went there several times, but they were super open and helped her. This woman had been chronically unhoused, had a very complex home life since she was a small child. And I then lost contact with her. And she later in the summer left a beautiful note on my garden telling me how I had helped her. I don't think I'd helped her as much as I would have liked, but we must, as a community, feel comfortable talking to people, opening our hearts, cooking for them, helping them however we can. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ben Harper, Bray House, 30 South. This summer I've been living on Grosvenor Street. Okay. It is no secret that Athens is a hub or a pit stop for transit and homeless. It is not controversial to help the homeless, but is a controversial issue for a city council to construct a site before approving its rezoning as an act of defiance to any resident who would oppose the location, with many of these people being in the immediate area. I have friends who live there and feel unsafe for a site like this to be close to their homes. I have other friends who have previously lived in the area, who have dealt with homeless people from a nearby camp, who have stolen valuable items accidentally left on the front porches. Unfortunately, but truthfully, many homeless are addicted to drugs or alcohol, or develop already have psychological issues that need attention in a specialized facility. Not 3 huts, which can only live in for one night at a time, regardless of how nice the huts are. Another question is, how temporary are these huts if the council can just erect them at will and not give any consideration to who lives near the zoning area? Another serious question that arises is, will more sites be built and how long will they stay? And are there any auditing systems to make sure that how they said they're going to be run will be ran the way they are, to prevent issues of the other homeless encampments moving in and it's becoming like a tent city. It must be said that something happens to a member of the community from a transit person who would not be here otherwise from the site or a future site, it'll be a decision of the council that is reflected upon. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak to this ordinance?
Sorry, I just need to pull it up really quick. All right, great.
Sorry, someone left their glasses up here if you lost them.
You might lose your glasses. They're like pretty nice glasses. They're a little smudged though, I must say. Unless I like publicly shame anyone. That wouldn't be very kind. Okay, so. Hi, my name is Jamie. I live on 18 North Congress Street, or 168 North Lancaster Street. I'm here today representing United Campus Ministry. I want to say thank you to Councilmember Swank for bringing this ordinance forward. And now I have a speech. So Jamie, tell me why you are at the City Council meeting talking today. Well, Jamie, I will tell you right now, it's because I understand there is dissent regarding a problem in the place that I live. And I have relevant experience to share from that place. And you know the place too, it's Athens, Ohio. So anyway, I work at UCM in Athens. I've been working with the free community meal program for about a year now. We offer free, hot, fresh food for everyone, 3 times a week, every week, no questions asked. Many people attend. That can be college students, community members, friends, families, you know, anybody really. So, if you can hear me right now, please raise your hand. Just do it. Go ahead. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I appreciate that as a lot. So thank you for doing that. So anybody who just raised their hands, you are invited to our free meals. They are for everyone. They are not just for a certain group of people. They happen every Wednesday at noon and every Thursday at 5 at UCM. I try to remind people about this invitation because the best part about living in Athens is the people. Neighbors that raise their hands in a city council meeting if I ask nicely. These kindnesses are what make me proud to say that I get to live here. I'll tell you though, I see a lot of people, a lot of folks come in through those meals who are going through some pretty rough times. And in this third reading, we have a real opportunity to help. The proposed Conestoga huts are a small band-aid on the huge problem of housing insecurity, But to each individual person that this project helps, there is an opportunity to make this town a place that we are all proud to call our own, to help a neighbor, a community member, or a friend. Housing insecurity is a systemic problem that is not created by any individual in this room. I can tell you that for free. It's not going to be solved in one night or even in one season. Another angle to this problem, though, is that we can make an impact. I understand that this problem may make folks feel more unsafe walking home on West State, and that is a real concern. And I appreciate people who have spoken about that. That said, it is not a new problem. I can't count on my hands how many friends I've walked down after dark on West State Street. I don't think, however, that protesting this rezoning proposal is an effective solution to that problem. Students have been saying that we need more light on this street for years. But right here, right now, this rezoning is a good option for people who are also in danger, sleeping in wooded areas or stairwells. And this could aid people this winter. This is a proposal that helps our community right now. If you are in this room right now, I can tell that you care about this community, and that's awesome. This proposal is a perfect opportunity to show that love. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you. Anyone else this evening? We sincerely appreciate everyone who is here tonight and who wants to engage with council and the city administration on this issue. All of our voices are heard, and it's a very important part of what we do here. So I really want to say that council appreciates everyone's input on this issue. I have heard a motion and a second to approve ordinance 112-25. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The motion carries and the ordinance is approved. We now move on to ordinance 113-25, an ordinance rezoning portions of North Lancaster Street, 2nd Street, Columbia Avenue, and Columbus Road from zones R1 and B2D to zones R2, B1, and B2. Introduced at third reading by Councilmember Thomas.
Thank you. As President Crowell just read, this is just the third reading for the rezoning that we've discussed and had a public hearing on for the area of North Lancaster, Columbia, and Columbus Road. I appreciate the discussion we had on that in the past, and I'm glad that we found a solution that seemed to work for all of the residents. That said, I would make a motion to approve or adopt 113-25.
Seconded. We have a motion and a second to approve 113-25. Are there any comments or questions from council? Elected official? Oh, yes. Michael? Member Wood.
Yeah, I was just going to add that I was really impressed by everybody that weighed in on this one. The administration, thanks for working with the folks in my neighborhood to tidy it up there. I think that we've come to a great solution, and like Rob said earlier, it's going to be good to have more businesses in that area, that corridor as well. So, thank you.
Any other? Yes, Member Reisner.
Just to clear up, I'm a little confused about the old fire station. What zone would that be a part of then?
That would be part of the B zones that we have identified in that area.
Would it be a B1 or a B2 or?
I believe it's B2.
A B2. Okay.
That and the Ohio Valley Museum of Discovery.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Other council members? Elected officials? City administration? Audience members? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting 113-25 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Motion carries and the ordinance is approved. Ordinance 115-25 is an ordinance declaring property located at 25 Central Avenue no longer needed for a municipal purpose and authorizing the mayor to sell said property to another political subdivision, introduced by Councilmember McCary.
Thank you, President Crowell. I'd like to make a motion that we adopt ordinance 115-25.
Second.
This has been discussed at committee, and this is one of two properties that the city is attempting to sell to the Athens Metropolitan Housing Authority, and I would ask that we approve ordinance 115-25.
Thank you, Mayor McCary. Council members, any comments or questions on this ordinance? Elected officials?
I have some information.
Yes, please. Thank you, Law Director.
Central, and it said fair market value, and Service Safety Director did provide me with some information that the appraised value is $154,000. I have a copy of that appraisal if anyone wanted to look at it.
154.
Yes.
Thank you, Law Director. Appreciate that information. Mayor, anything to add on this ordinance? Thank you, Mayor. Audience members? All those in favor of adopting 115-25 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries and the ordinance is approved. Ordinance 116-25 is an ordinance declaring property located at 458 Richland Avenue no longer needed for a municipal purpose and authorizing the mayor to sell said property to another political subdivision, introduced by Councilmember McCary.
Thank you, President Crowell. I'd like to make a motion that we adopt ordinance 116-25.
Second.
Thank you. The pertinent information comes.
Point of order, you said 115. It should be 116.
116-25. I'll make the motion again to adopt 116-25.
I'll second again.
Thanks. And the pertinent information comes from Section 2. The mayor is hereby authorized to sell said property at 458 Richland Avenue to the Athens Metropolitan Housing Authority, another political subdivision, for the sum of $144,160. And I would like us to adopt ordinance 116-25.
Thank you, Member McCary. Comments or questions from city council members on this ordinance?
Was there more?
Yes, Member Spianis.
Sorry, was there more information from the law director about, since she gave the price on the other one? Is there?
No, the price was determined on this one.
Okay, I was trying to remember how that went. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, no, it was just the one on Central that needed to be appraised.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Elected officials, Mayor.
I do have an update. As council recalls, the appraised values, those were the county auditor's valuation, which is the $144,160. We did have this one appraised as well when we did the appraisal for 25 Central Avenue, and its appraised value is $185,000.
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
Audience, any comments on this ordinance? All those in favor of adopting 116-25 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries and the ordinance is approved. Ordinance 117-25 is an ordinance authorizing the disposal of equipment no longer needed for a municipal purpose, introduced by Councilmember Thomas.
Thank you. This is the, excuse me, the TriCaster systems that they use to broadcast council meetings and other meetings here. They are getting rid of older ones and using some of that funds to put towards additional ones, as they've upgraded one already. And I would move that we adopt 117-25.
Seconded. We have a motion and a second to adopt 117-25. Comments or questions on this equipment disposal from council? Elected officials, mayor, audience members? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting 117-25 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries and the ordinance is adopted. We will now move on to ordinances for second reading. I will read the title and then see if anybody has any comments and then move on if we do not. Ordinance 101-25 is an ordinance authorizing the Service Safety Director to advertise and accept bids where necessary and enter into contracts for construction of a new water line along Jacobs Street from Graham to Stony Brook, project number 386, introduced by Councilmember Thomas.
Yes. We've been asked by Director Stone to suspend so that they can get this project going immediately.
We have a motion to suspend the rules for 101-25. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to suspend the rules for 101-25. Any comments or questions on the suspension? All those in favor of suspending signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. The rules are suspended, Member Thomas.
Thank you. This is, as a reminder, the water line that will attach the Children's Services new building to city water when it's completed, and will put a larger line along Jacob Street from Graham to Stony Brook. With that said, I would move that we adopt 101-25. Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt 101-25. Any comments or questions from council members? Elected officials, city administration, audience members? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting 101-25 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries and the ordinance is adopted. Ordinance 114-25 is an ordinance amending the 2025 appropriation ordinance 115-24, introduced by Councilmember Reisner.
I don't have any information on 114-25 because I'm sorry, 25. My confusion is it has the same title as 119-25, which I believe we need to suspend. So which one are we really dealing with? Are they the same thing?
No, they are not, Member Reisner.
Okay.
Excuse me?
Yes, please, Auditor.
They're not the same thing, but they're both appropriation ordinances.
Right.
And yes, I would ask that both of them be suspended tonight.
That's what I wanted to find out. Okay. I'd like to make a motion that we suspend the rules for 114-25.
Second.
The reasons being we need it.
The money needed for the HVAC.
Uh-huh.
Now that the weather has changed.
Good enough reason for me.
Yeah.
Thank
There's
you.
our reasons.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to suspend the rules for 114-25. Any comments or questions on this suspension? Seeing none, all those in favor of suspending 114-25 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. The rules are suspended, Member Reisner.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion that we adopt 114-25.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt 114-25. Any comments or questions from council members? Elected officials? Mayor? Public? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting 114-25 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. The motion carries and the ordinance is approved. Ordinance 119-25 is an ordinance amending the 2025 appropriation ordinance 115-24, introduced by Councilmember Reisner.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to make a motion that we suspend the rules for 119-25.
Second.
The reasons being that the water fund needs to make some purchases for equipment immediately, so sooner the better.
We have a motion and a second to suspend the rules for 119-25. Comments or questions on the suspension? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. The rules are suspended, Member Reisner.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to make a motion to adopt 119-25.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt 119-25. Any comments or questions from city council members? Elected officials? Mayor? Audience members? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting 119-25 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries and the ordinance is adopted. Ordinance 120-25 is an ordinance to make appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Athens, Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2026, introduced by the Finance and Personnel Committee. Ordinance 121-25 is an ordinance authorizing 2026 staffing levels, repealing all ordinances inconsistent therewith, and declaring an emergency, introduced by the Finance and Personnel Committee.
would like to introduce an amendment to the staffing ordinance. Essentially, this has to deal with the court from funds 237, 235, 232. Essentially, there's the elimination of a position and a reconfiguring of two other positions. So if anyone needs to see the spreadsheet, it's available. This was approved by the court, by the judge, Judge Grace.
So what are these positions? This position is being eliminated.
Okay, what's being eliminated? Court CCA, Municipal Court Intensive Probation Coordinator is to be deleted. Underage Drinkers Division Program Coordinator is moved from a 0.75 position to a 1 FTE. And a General Municipal Court Division Program Coordinator, Specialized Docket Coordinator is to be lowered from a 0.75 FTE to a 0.5 FTE.
Thank you, Member Reisner.
That's all the changes I have.
Member Spielness, the position that is being removed is currently an open position. It hasn't been filled this year. Judge Grace feels that there may be a time in the future where he would like to request that it be added back to the staffing ordinance. But at this time, we have to budget for insurance for all positions in the staffing ordinance. And as we try to balance our budget, the judge agreed that we could remove this one, and they can come forward in the new year if they would like to request that the position be added back into the
Well, I hope that means
staffing.
that somebody's covering the diversion program adequately, or maybe we have fewer people that need it. Wouldn't that be nice? But, okay.
So we have an amendment. Is there a second, Clerk Walker, to?
I'll second.
We have a motion to amend ordinance 121-25 and a second. Any comments or questions on the amendment? Yes, Member Clodfelter.
I'm curious, Member Reisner, what will be the financial implications of this reconfiguration of those positions?
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, Auditor, but with the elimination of this position, that salary will not be spent, and the medical and other benefits will not be appropriated. So what, I think we're talking $80,000 just for that one position alone.
Okay. All benefits, insurance, taxes, tuition, would add on to the salary. And usually if someone has an open position that they plan to fill, we leave it in there and we budget for it. But he doesn't have plans to fill it right now, so we're taking it out, so we don't budget for it.
Okay, thank you. And then the two that are being reconfigured in terms of their FTEs, is that going to have a financial increase for the city?
It more or less balances out.
Not overall,
No.
yeah.
It's just different
No,
fund
it's a
lines.
reconfiguration. It's not an elimination or an addition. So.
Thank you.
Other comments or questions on this amendment? Yes, Member McCary.
Thanks, President Crowell. I think it's just worth commenting that we are talking about the general fund in this sense, so any savings that the courts and other departments can offer are worthwhile.
Thank you, Member McCary.
Good point.
Any comments from the mayor on this amendment? All those in favor of amending 121-25 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. 121-25 is amended and read for the first time. Ordinance 122-25 is an ordinance authorizing 2026 non-union compensation, repealing all ordinances inconsistent therewith, and declaring an emergency, introduced by the Finance and Personnel Committee. Ordinance 123-25 is an ordinance authorizing the Service Safety Director to enter into a contract with the Employee Benefit Service Center to serve as the city's third-party health insurance administrator, TPA, and declaring an emergency, introduced by Councilmember Reisner.
Nothing further.
Ordinance 124-25 is an ordinance authorizing a group excess loss medical insurance contract and declaring an emergency, introduced by Councilmember Reisner.
No.
Ordinance 125-25 is an ordinance authorizing the payment of prior year expenses and declaring an emergency, introduced by Councilmember Reisner.
Thank you, Mr. President. I believe there's a need to suspend 125-25 to pay a bill now.
It's a bill from last year that we just received this year. So it has to come out of this year's funds now.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to suspend the rules for 125-25. Thank you for that assistance. Any comments or questions on the suspension? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. The rules are suspended, Member Reisner.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to make a motion that we adopt 125-25.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt 125-25. Any comments or questions from City Council? Elected officials? Mayor?
This is a $6,000 bill from last year.
Thank you. Audience members? All those in favor of adopting 125-25 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries and the ordinance is approved. Ordinance 126-25 is an ordinance approving a then and now certificate for payment and declaring an emergency, introduced by Councilmember Reisner.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules for 126-25 and to, well, let's see, wait a minute. I'm going to have to do an amendment first, and then we'll suspend the rule. The reason for the amendment is that we have, let's see, how much was it? Oh, here it is. We have to pay RDR Utility Service Groups the amount of $667,350.89. This is for project number 330, which is putting the sewer line under the bridge at the Hocking River Bridge along Richland Avenue. And I guess we need to pay pretty quick, so that's the information that I have.
Thank you, Member Reisner. We have a motion and a second. I believe, Clerk Walker, we had a second? We have a motion to suspend the rules for 120.
No, we have a motion to make
to amend. I'm
make
sorry.
an amend, and then
Thank
we'll get to the suspension, hopefully.
Was there a second on the amendment?
Second.
We have a motion and a second on amending 126-25. Any comments or questions? Yes, Member Cloudfilter.
I'm curious, that was a pretty large amount of money. What fund would that be coming from?
Auditor, what fund?
I'm just looking at our notes here. It should be sewer.
Yeah.
For sewer line. So that'd be $750.
I don't have anything.
Okay.
Oh,
Thank
okay. Out of a proprietary fund?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
She says, yeah. Yes, sir.
Yeah, joining in the concerns about this being 660,000, not a small number.
Well, I just thought of a pun. I'm not going to go there.
Don't do it.
No.
We need some levity.
Not on camera, no. Later.
So just a little clarification, the reason this isn't mentioned in the prior ordinance is because the money is already there and appropriated, but we're paying it, it's a then and now situation where everything's already been done and now we're
Okay.
doing that.
Sorry. not to be a stickler, but why then do we need to do another change if it's already been appropriated?
Because we're paying it after the fact. Like if it was done without a purchase order in place. I don't know how to explain that any better.
Read your amendment again.
Well, there's not really an amendment to read, but it's basically RDR Utility Service Group in the amount of $667,350.89. Contractor installing new sewer main, Project 330, under the river from Richland Lift Station to new line on South Green Drive.
So we're not appropriating any new money. We're just saying this is another then and now payment that needs to be approved. Does that make sense? The money was already appropriated however many ordinances ago. So we're not adding any new money. But because it's being paid in a different calendar year, we have to do a then and now certificate for it. The same as we're doing for the $6,000.
There you go. Thank you.
Does that clear that up a little bit more?
Yeah.
If it had gotten paid in 2024, wouldn't have to do this at all. But because it's in 2025, the state requires us to have what's called the then and now certificate.
Yeah, I mean, I'm familiar with the then and now part. I'm more like where, background on the, this is a huge number for an amendment, to come in like this without any background on the paper. That's the
Well,
issue.
it's a project, and projects do involve a lot more money, but it is. But the fact is, a then and now situation is usually a bill that should have been paid previously but wasn't, and so this one for then and now it's the previous year, but we didn't pay it last year. We didn't have a new purchase order in place to pay it.
Because
we missed
Never
it.
mind, I think I'm just confusing everybody, but we need this for our processes. I don't know what else to say.
Any additional comments or questions from City Council? We have an amendment to the then and now certificate, ordinance 126-25. Mayor, anything to add?
No, this is that sewer extension project. It's a very expensive project, boring underneath the river, which that was part of the slowdown with this project, getting the permits from the Corps of Engineers and from everybody that has authority over what we can do with the river, making sure we don't drain the river because of misboring or whatever. So, and it was a bill that came in that should have been expensed from last year. It was not. We're now receiving that bill. But this is also part of that zero interest loan that we have. So the money's in place. It's just being able to use the then and now to pay our bill from the previous year.
Thank you, Mayor. Anybody from the public? We have a motion and a second to amend 126-25. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries, and the ordinance is amended. Member Reisner.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules for 126-25.
We have a motion and a second. Reason being what we've already heard.
Yes.
From, you need to do this for a prior year expense. Any comments or questions on the suspension on the table? Seeing none, all those in favor of suspending the rules for 126-25 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Rules are suspended, Member Reisner.
Thank you. Now I'd like to make a motion that we adopt 126-25.
Seconded.
We have a motion and a second to adopt 126-25. Any comments or questions from City Council members? Public elected officials? City administration? Members of the public? All those in favor of adopting 126-25 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion carries, and the ordinance is adopted. We now move on to ordinances for a first reading. Ordinance 128-25 is an ordinance amending the 2025 appropriation ordinance 115-24 and amending ordinance 35-23, authorizing municipal parking facility improvements, Phase 3, project number 362, introduced by Councilmember Spielness.
Yes, my understanding is that we do have to amend this, as we discussed during the committee meeting, and then they need to suspend the rules because they want to get this done over the winter break, so we need to get moving on it. Do I have that correct, Mayor? I think that is correct. So if we can move to amend this ordinance so that it would be, Section 3 says, the Service Safety Director is hereby authorized to expend up to $575,000 versus $500,000 as it was from the Parking Garage Fund 730 TC 500 for said improvements, which we discussed earlier.
Seconded?
Does it need to be amended?
Any questions?
There's a motion and a second to amend 128-25 for the reasons stated. Any comments or questions on this amendment? All those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. The motion is, the ordinance is amended, Member Spielness.
Thank you. Okay, so the next step is, as I said, we want to get this done quickly over winter break, so we need to suspend the rules to authorize this to happen right away. So I move that we suspend the rules so that we can get this thing going.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to suspend the rules for 128-25. Any comments or questions on the suspension? All those in favor of suspending signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. The rules are suspended, Member Spielness.
Okay, so now I move that we get this thing going. And so I move that we pass this ordinance.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt 128-25. Any comments or questions from city council members on this ordinance? Elected officials? Mayor? Audience members? All those in favor of adopting 128-25 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries and the ordinance is adopted. Ordinance 129-25 is an ordinance repealing Ordinance 91-23, the Uptown Improvements Project, number 329, introduced by Councilmember Spielness.
Okay, my computer is going very slowly, so if you'll bear with me just a second till I can open that one up and we can talk about it. But we did talk about it earlier. As I said, it was discussed in committee earlier today. So let me open that up.
Oh my, the blue screen of death.
Not yet. It's just slow for some reason. So hold on a second. So it's my understanding that we don't have to suspend the rules for this one. I don't think so. I think we just do this. So it's, again, an ordinance repealing ordinance number 9123, the Uptown Improvements Project, as we discussed earlier, because we got bids and it didn't happen. So we're just going to say this isn't going to happen. So I'd like to, do we need to suspend it?
I don't believe so, Member Spielness.
Just let it go. Okay.
It's been read.
It's been read. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments or questions on this ordinance? Elected, yes, Member Wood?
Is this the same ordinance from earlier with the street that's on East State Street?
No.
No?
This is a different project from downtown that we've been trying to get done for several years, and we haven't gotten bids to do the project. But we got a big grant from ODOT to contribute to that project. We'd like to save the money that they gave us and be able to apply it to a different project. But we can repeal this ordinance because the project 329 is no longer going to happen at this time. Mayor, do I have that right?
You do. This is just simply repealing that project for the Uptown Improvement because we had received 0 bids on it. So therefore, the small cities funding, due to timing, ODOT, Ohio Department of Transportation, is pulling the $1,005,000, which is really a shame. But our hands are tied. If we don't get good bids, we don't get any bids, which is the case with this one. we're just repealing the project that is the Uptown Improvement Project, because the DOT money, there's our match, which was discussed in the other one.
Sorry, that was my-
President
that was my
Crowe,
confusion.
yeah, we'll discuss that in the next ordinance.
Yeah, the reason I'm asking is if it's the same, strip of road in front of my shop, then I'm gonna abstain again. If we're talking about the same project, if not.
I don't think so.
Mayor, the next
May I?
one. Yeah, go
You know,
ahead.
at this point, I'm not, I guess I should ask the law director about this, but it's basically repealing the whole project, so it's not gonna happen. So, yeah, I guess you can be the judge as to whether you recuse yourself from this or not, but the project is not gonna happen.
Yeah. No, I know. I'm saying that I think I should still recuse
Okay.
if it involves just out of the same rule set. Whether it. So yeah.
Just quickly, law director, should Member Wood then leave the dais for a moment, step outside while we discuss this?
I don't know that there's any direct community interest that we would have in, as far as repealing it. I mean, this is something that's just not gonna happen, so I don't see a reason for you to recuse yourself on that.
Okay. Member Thomas?
Just to clarify, between the two ordinances, this one that we're repealing is for the ADA corners and crosswalk parts, and the next one is for the burying of the lines, correct?
Correct, which also would include some ADA improvements
Okay,
along
so
with
that's
that.
the one that's gonna be on West State Street and affecting in front of the shop.
East
Not-
State.
So not so much this one.
Right. I mean, I intend to recuse from both, but I'll just recuse from the next one.
It's your decision.
Yeah.
Well, on this one, it's repealing, so I don't see that maybe the next one for consideration.
Okay.
Member Wood, we need to know what your decision is, because you have to vote. If you're sitting up here, then we have to hear an aye or an A or a nay or yay or a nay out of you. You can't just sit silent.
There's no vote.
Oh,
There's no vote on it.
okay, good point.
Yeah.
So you're here. Okay, my fault.
But I'm going to recuse myself from the next one, so I'll have to get up and leave for the next thing. So I'll just go do that now.
Okay, fair enough.
It's a great distraction too.
But I
Okay, any other comments or questions on 129-25, repealing ordinance 91-23? Seeing none, moving on to ordinance 130-25, an ordinance amending ordinance 35-25, authorizing engineering and construction of the Athens streetscape beautification, project number 383, introduced by Councilmember Spianos.
Yes, again, we discussed this earlier, and I don't see a suspension of the rules for this one either. So I'm just going to read this and explain again. I think everybody's talked about it well. Thank you for your contribution on that and explanation, President Crowell. Okay, so Section 3, the Service Safety Director is further authorized to expend up to $7,700,000 as follows. $6,500,000 from Appalachian Community Grant Fund 905 TC 500 and $1,200,000 from Street Rehabilitation Fund 572 TC 500, reallocated from the Uptown Improvement Project for use on said Project 383. So this is first reading.
Thank you, Member Spianos. Any comments or questions from City Council on this ordinance 130-25? Elected officials, anything to add? Mayor, anything to add? Audience members, any questions? Okay, can somebody please tell Mr. Wood he can come back? Ordinance 131-25 is an ordinance authorizing the mayor to redesignate Hocking Athens Perry Community Action, HAPCAP, to administer the Athens public transit bus system, introduced by Councilmember Spianos.
Thank you. And as we discussed in committee, this one we need to table because HAPCAP is going to take over the contracting of the bus system so that the city doesn't have to.
That's the Go Bus ordinance, not
Oops,
this
I'm
one.
on the wrong one, sorry.
That's okay.
My computer's going slow, so I'm jumping the gun here. I'm not having it in front of me. This has never happened before, just saying.
You can look at my paper copy.
Oh. Yeah, if you have a paper copy, I'll...
There's that.
Okay, where are we at here?
At the top, 131.
Well, that
Oh,
just
now
gives
it pops up.
Oh,
See
now
there?
it pops up. See, that's
Yeah,
what
it's
happens.
jealous.
That's right. Okay. To redesignate the Hocking, Athens, Perry County HAPCAP, anyway, to administer the Athens public transit system. So, did I skip one? Or that's, well, this is the Go Bus thing. Oh, okay. I thought you told me it wasn't. All right. So the mayor is hereby authorized to redesignate the HAPCAP as designated grantee to carry out activities of the Athens public transit bus system. And so we just need to make that happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments or questions on 131-25? Elected officials, members of the public? Thank you. Ordinance 132-25 is an ordinance authorizing the mayor to redesignate Hocking Athens Perry Community Action, HAPCAP, as contract administrator for the Ohio Rural Intercity Bus Program, Go Bus, introduced by Councilmember Spianis.
Yeah, okay, so this is the one that, this is such a long meeting. Anyway, this is the one where
It's getting longer.
it's getting longer by the minute. So we don't have to worry about doing the whole Go Bus thing because Perry County is going to do it, so we don't have to worry about this. So I can just do a tabling, right? We're on the right one now. Okay, so I want to propose that we table this since it's no longer even an issue.
Excuse me, point of procedure. How can we table something if it's not on the table?
I'm not sure what she means by tabling this.
Oh, that's the message I got. Please indicate during,
First reading right now,
right,
and she can make the motion to table.
right, those are my explicit instructions.
Okay.
You can move to table the ordinance at first reading.
After it's been read.
Oh, I see. Okay, sorry, didn't understand.
So,
okay, there's a motion to table ordinance 132-25. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to table 132-25.
What's the reason for tabling?
This is no longer needed.
because it's no longer needed.
Just needs to disappear, tabling it and letting it fall into the ether.
Why even bother to introduce it?
That was my question, but I'm just listening to the person who knows everything.
It's already numbered.
It's already in the
It's already in the system.
It's numbered.
We realized that we didn't need it.
Thank you, Clerk Walker.
Why not?
This was brand-new information. We just found this out, so that's why it happened
I need my
this way.
copy of Robert's rules.
We have a motion and a second to table and an explanation for why we are tabling. Any comments or questions on the table motion? All those in favor of tabling ordinance 132-25 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay.
Nay.
The motion is tabled by a 5-1 vote. Ordinance 133-25 is an ordinance amending Title 7 Traffic Code, Sections 7.01.02, 7.01.13, 7.01.17, 7.03.07, 7.03.07.1, 7.03.25, 7.04.03, and 7.04.44, and repealing all ordinances inconsistent therewith, introduced by Councilmember Thomas for Member Swank. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for reading all of the code sections there. We talked about this in committee last week. This is just realigning and bringing our municipal code into alignment with changes in ORC so that everything matches up. And that is all it really does.
Thank you, Member Thomas. Any comments or questions on this ordinance? Elected officials, mayor? Housekeeping. Public. Thank you, Member Thomas. Ordinance 134-25 is an ordinance amending Athens City Code Title 9, General Regulations, Chapter 9.06, Intoxicating Liquors, Narcotics, Section 9.06.99, Penalties, introduced by Councilmember Thomas.
Thank you. This is the same thing. It is bringing Athens Municipal Code into alignment with Ohio Revised Code.
Comments or questions on this ordinance? Members, elected officials, mayor, public. Ordinance 135-25 is an ordinance amending Title 13, General Offenses, Sections 13.05.01 and 13.05.03, and repealing all ordinances inconsistent therewith, introduced by Councilmember Thomas.
And this is another one doing the same thing. This has definitions attached to it also, and bringing into alignment with ORC.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from council on this ordinance? Elected officials, mayor, audience members. Ordinance 136-25 is an ordinance to repeal Athens City Code Title 15, Taxes. Sorry, I thought that was kind of dramatic. Introduced by Councilmember Reisner.
So dramatic there. Got me shook up. An ordinance to repeal Athens City Code Title 15 Taxes, whereas the General Assembly enacted HB 5 in December 2014 and mandated that municipal income tax codes be amended by January 1, 2016, such that any income or withholding tax is levied in accordance with the provisions and limitations specified in Chapter 718, and whereas effective January 1, 2016, the Athens City Council enacted the amendment required to be in accord with provisions and limitations specified in Chapter 718. Be it ordained by the Council of the City of Athens, State of Ohio, Section 1, effective December 31st, 2025, Athens City Council does hereby repeal Athens City Code Title 15, Taxes. Section 2, the ordinance shall be in effect in full force upon its passage and approval by the mayor. The ordinance has been read for the first time.
Thank you, Member Reisner. Any comments or questions on this ordinance? Elected officials, anything to add over there? Yes, Auditor?
The reason we left this on the books for 10 years is for people who might be paying delinquent taxes. So we could go back 10 years, and so we still needed that code because their delinquent taxes might have been fallen under that code as opposed to the new code.
So we still have to pay our taxes?
10 years is up.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, you'd be surprised.
Members of the public. Ordinance 137-25 is an ordinance to provide for an increase in the general city income tax of 0.20%, 0.20%, per annum, beginning January 1, 2027, introduced by the Finance and Personnel Committee.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Do you want me to speed read it? I haven't got to do that this year.
Yeah. I'm just seeing what I can leave in and take out. Probably nothing. Section 1. It is necessary to levy an additional 0.20%, 0.20% income tax for a continuing period of time commencing January 1, 2027, upon passage by a majority of the electors of the City of Athens. Title 17 of the Athens City Code of Ordinances shall be hereby amended to provide for a city income tax of 0.15% to 0.15% per annum annually, effective January 1, 2027, rather than the current 1.95%, 1.95% per annum, so on and so forth. It is Section 5. It is found and determined that all formal actions of this council concerning relating to the passage of the ordinance were passed in an open meeting of the council, and that all deliberations of this council and of any of its committees that result in such formal actions were in meetings open to the public in compliance with the law including sections 121.22 of the Ohio Revised Code. Section 6, the Clerk of Council is hereby directed to file a certified copy of this ordinance at least 90 days before May 5th, 2026, with the Athens County Board of Elections pursuant to Section 718.01 of the Ohio Revised Code.
Thank
That's
you,
it.
Member Reisner. Any comments or questions from City Council on 137-25? Elected officials, anything to share? Mayor?
I just want to clarify something because I've heard this in the past and will likely hear more again. And that is, as a political subdivision, as a city, much like any town or village in the state of Ohio, any political subdivision, municipality can levy an income tax. For most municipalities, that is where their general revenue comes from, is from an income tax. I've heard a lot about people's property taxes. I've heard a lot about sales tax. While the city does receive a very small amount when it comes to property tax, and a very, very small amount for sales tax, and in particular, the gasoline tax, which that can only be used for street and road repairs, maintenance, things of that nature, infrastructure. Our income tax, when you look at the other levies that have passed in the past, the recreation levy, the safety levy, when you're looking at what is in the ordinance, it speaks to the current 1.95. That includes all levies that are in this piece of legislation, which includes the income tax, with an increase of 0.2%. Again, it's basically an auditor. I'm going to have you correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I don't think I am. That the current general revenue is, the income tax is 1.75. This would bring that up to 1.95, and then the other levies on top of that is what brings us up to a 2.15. Those other levies I mentioned, they're time limited, whereas the income tax with the general for general revenue coming into the city of Athens is not, unless there was a levy in the future for whatever reason to repeal that or to change that the income tax itself. But I just want to be clear with everybody about the tax mix when it comes to what we are referring to every time we talk about the overall income tax for the city of Athens, as opposed to city income tax that is for the general fund, for general obligation revenue coming in, which is what we use primarily to pay the city employees, both union and non-union employees, which I've said this before, I'll say it again, when you look at the payroll along with healthcare benefits, it is taking up 80 to 85% of that general revenue that comes in from the income tax. I'll cede my time.
Thank you, Mayor. Anyone from the public like to speak to this?
Hello, Aiden Fox, student here at Ohio University. I don't know if my comments here would be more appropriate for this ordinance or for resolution 0625. But I do distinctly remember back in March and April, I had conversations with several people in this room about City Issue 3, the proposed 0.3% increase in the tax rate. And back then, several people said that it was absolutely imperative that we pass that resolution, or else, we'd have to start looking at things like, police patrol coverage, the fire department, essential city maintenance. That if we did not pass that those things would be the first things on the chopping board for cuts. I guess my question here is, I don't see a major change in city spending, especially in discretionary. I look at for example, I think it was $325,000 appropriated recently back in August for the prefabricated bathrooms in the West State Park. Why is a 0.2 increase to the tax rate suddenly okay? Because I can't imagine that inflation has made things easier in the time since April or March. Like I said, we were told that it was imperative to pass that 0.3, and now apparently 0.2 is acceptable. Like I said, I don't know if it's more appropriate for comments on Resolution 06 coming up, but that's all I had to say on that.
Thank you. Any other comments on this ordinance? Okay, it's been read for the first time. As mentioned by Mr. Fox, we now have two resolutions. Both are three reading resolutions. City Council does at times one reading resolutions, and then some are mandated by the Ohio Revised Code to be three reading resolutions. Both on the agenda tonight are three reading resolutions, so this is the first reading of each of these. The first is Resolution 05-25, a resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor, introduced by Councilmember Reisner.
Thank you, Mr. President. We do this every year about this time. As the mayor mentioned, the city of Athens gets a very tiny amount of property tax, and the way we get that is we get it through the county. The county is authorized to have a property tax to for all their townships. The city of Athens occupies almost the entire portion of Athens Township. Consequently, the city does all the maintenance work, all the roads, the bridges, the mowing, and so on, that the township would normally do and be paid for by the county. The city of Athens does that. To compensate us for it, amount of the property tax as determined by this commission is handed over to the city to cover our expenses. The same is with a small portion of Canaan Township. And let me read the resolution as it stands. Whereas the council, in accordance with the provisions of law, has previously adopted a tax budget for the next succeeding fiscal year commencing January 1st, 2026. And whereas the Budget Commission of Athens County, Ohio, has certified its actions thereon to this council together with an estimate by the county auditor of the rates of each tax necessary to be levied by this council, and what part thereof is without and what part is within the 10 mil limitations, therefore be it resolved by the council of the city of Athens, Athens County, Ohio, that the amount and rates as determined by the Budget Commission in a certification be and the same are hereby accepted, and be it further resolved that therefore be and herein levied on the tax duplicate of said city the rates of each as tax necessary to be levied within and without the 10 mil limitation as follows. And on your drive, you'll see an appendix, Schedule A, which states from the general fund, Athens Township, amount approved by the Budget Commission within the 10 mil limitation in column 4 is $1,168,300. County auditor's estimate of tax rate to be levied within the 10 mil limit is 2.60. For Canaan Township, the amount is $55,026 at a rate of 2.40. The total, therefore, is $1,223,326 at a rate totaling 5%. And it's been read for the first time.
Thank you, Member Reisner. Moving on, are any comments or questions on this resolution from city council members, elected officials, mayor, audience members? Our next resolution, 06-25, is a resolution to place the issue of increasing the city income tax by 0.20%, 0.20% per annum, beginning January 1, 2027, on the ballot at the next primary election on May 5th, 2026, and directing the Board of Elections of Athens County to conduct the election. introduced by the Finance and Personnel Committee.
I will read the title of the resolution, Resolution 06-25. A resolution to place the issue of increasing the city income tax by 0.20% 0.20% per annum beginning January 1, 2027 on the ballot at the next primary election on May 5th, 2026, and directing the Board of Elections of Athens County to conduct the election. And that's it.
Thank you, Member Reisner. Any comments or questions on the election, on the resolution to place the levy on the ballot? Yes, Member Thomas.
I just wanted to try to answer Mr. Fox's question, so I don't know if it was before or now he wanted to know. And I may have forgotten part of it because it's been 5 minutes. In regards to the 320-some thousand, that comes from the Parks and Rec levy and that proprietary fund, whereas income tax goes into the general fund, and those have to be spent separately. General fund is going to cover, payrolls, general, needs, but that other money cannot be spent elsewhere. It is levied for that purpose and stays within that fund within the city. As to the amount, that was just a discussion that the mayor and the auditor and treasurer's office will have to address. But I will say we talked about the budget a few weeks ago, and we did have a 1.5% increase in the budget over last year, which is considerably less than previous years. And there's some paperwork we can get to if you want to see the differences over the last 5 years or so. Is there anything else I missed? I think I got most of the questions. Okay.
Thank you, Member Thomas. Member Clodfelter.
Yeah, and basically what Member Thomas is alluding to is that the city has tightened its belts and has reduced the amount of increased budget that it's asking for. It's definitely the lowest increase we've seen in a long time because of the reductions in spending that the city has proposed for next year.
Any other comments or questions from City Council? Elected officials want to chime in at all?
I mean, I'll just say what I said. I mentioned this last week. Again, that 3-2, that again was the compromise that we heard. We heard the voters say 3 was too high. So, but we know as we project out, not just into 26, 27, we have to go all the way. Because again, it was mentioned last year that when you start when you start collecting income tax, you don't even see that tax. We could pass it in 26, but we won't even see the full effect of that tax until the very end of 27, beginning of 28. Well, by then, we know expenses are going to be even higher. So again, this is just planning. This is do it now. If we keep waiting, we're going to be even farther behind the curve in terms of expenses. So, but again, the 3-2, we listened to the voters and said, okay, if 3 is not acceptable, we should probably look at what we can do in terms of tightening the belt on the budget, which was just mentioned, and then how can we work with a smaller rate.
Thank you, Treasurer. Mayor, anything to add?
I think he summed it up well. The thing that I've said before, and I'll say it again, and this applies to everybody in our nation, healthcare costs are not going down. Healthcare costs are actually exponentially increasing year after year. And so it's not just healthcare. We have 4 unions in the city of Athens, and those unions bargain collectively each year because we're on a 3-year cycle with 3-year contracts. And if you look at those contracts, they range anywhere from 2.5% increase to 3.5 and then 4% in some cases. And when your revenue is not growing along with your expenses, the only way a city can keep pace with that is to ask the citizens to vote for an income tax increase. It's simple math at the end of the day. As the treasurer indicated, and the auditor and I've been talking about this for a long time, I'm no stranger to having to go through this process, is that when you put something like this on the ballot, and if it passes in the affirmative, you don't see the true revenue coming in for more than a year. So you have to plan that way as to what things look like, budgeting year after year after year, and knowing that if you're not going to see that coming in, it makes you tighten up even further, and in some cases, it means not replacing staffing positions where there's a retirement in place until we know that we have the revenue coming in to refill that. That's just the reality of anybody's budget. The amount of money you have coming in, you don't sit there and overspend for what your expenses are going out, or else you're going to find yourself in debt. And that's something that a city will not do, we will not do. So it's different levers that we have to pull at the end of the day. And so we're asking the citizens, and most who appreciate the services that we have, expect those services moving forward in time.
Thank you, Mayor. Any comments from the public on this ordinance? This resolution is really just necessary to put this on the ballots for the citizens to decide. So it's a little bit of a procedural issue, but if anybody would like to speak to it, you're welcome. Okay, we're moving on to announcements and other business. The first is appointments and reappointments to the Pedestrian Accessibility and Bicycle Task Force. The bylaw, this task force was created by City Council and approved its bylaws, and its bylaws assign the majority of the membership of the task force to be appointed by the City Council President. And so I am letting the City Council know and the public know that I have appointed Dr. Wolfgang Sutzel to reappointment on the task force, as well as Rory Brennan, Andrew Giardelli, and then reappointing the Athens City Commission on Disabilities representative, Michelle Hahn, and the OU student representative, George Turner, and resident member, Stephanie Hunter, and resident member, Robert, gosh, I can't stop saying Delock. I'm going to say Delich. I got it, Delich, right? Okay. And resident member, Robert Delich. So thank you for your service, and you are appointed and reappointed to the Pedestrian Accessibility and Bicycle Task Force. Thank you very much. Next item on our agenda is confirmation of the mayor's appointment to the Recreation Advisory Board. Council has in front of them the appointment. I have it in front of me, of Caitlin Moscover to the Recreation Advisory Board. This is the mayor's appointment. Council simply confirms that appointment. Did anyone have any comments or questions about appointing Ms. Moscover to the Rec Advisory Board? All those in favor of confirming this appointment signify by saying aye. Oh, may I have a motion to confirm the mayor's appointment?
So moved.
Seconded.
I have a motion and a second to confirm the mayor's appointment. Any comments or questions? Anything to add, Mayor? Public? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Thank you, Ms. Moscover. You are appointed to the Recreation Advisory Board. And then finally, we have reappointments to the Income Tax Review Board. We are, Member Spielness, you should recuse yourself. Okay, I'm gonna just step down real quick. Thank you. So we are, we would like, council is recommending the reappointment of Steve Sloan. Are there any comments or questions? May I have a motion to reappoint Steve Sloan to the Income Tax Review Board?
Seconded.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions on this reappointment? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Mr. Sloan is reappointed to this board. We also have a reappointment of Mr. John Molinaro. Both of these gentlemen, of course, have accepted the offer of reappointment. May I have a motion to reappoint John Molinaro to this board?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions on this? Mayor, anything to add? Public? All those in favor of reappointing Mr. Molinaro signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Congratulations, Mr. Molinaro. You are reappointed to the board. I believe the mayor has reappointed Mr. Bick Weissenreiter to this board as well. Thank you. We now have the opportunity for citizens to speak on legislative items and city services not covered on the agenda. Would anybody who didn't get their fill tonight like to come up and keep us going? She just hid behind you. She's sneaky. Well, if I don't see anybody who would like to speak, I will take a motion for adjournment.
So moved. Seconded.
Motion and second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. We are adjourned at 9:58 p.m. Thank you, everyone.